Chapter 242. The old man looked at Lu Ming expectantly. Lu Ming was young, but his understanding of martial arts was shockingly high. Just now, he had given the burly man a few pointers and helped him break through. This made the old man's heart burn with excitement. Nestle, Xiang Mu is too cunning. He actually beat me to it. Damn it, don't fight with me. It's my turn next. Your turn? Why? Young Master Tianyan uses a long spear, and so do I. It's my turn for the next match. It's my turn. On the spectator stand, several sixth-layer martial master experts began to fight. The others were dumbfounded. These people were fighting to challenge Lu Ming, not because Lu Ming was too weak, but because he was too strong. Such a thing was unheard of. Lu Ming himself was in a daze. However, he was not worried that no one would accept his challenge. Please. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to the old man, Please enlighten me. The old man cupped his fists, and a long sword appeared. Swoosh! The sword light pierced through the air and charged toward Lu Ming. Just like before, Lu Ming did not rush to fight back. He dodged the attack with his movement skill while observing the old man's swordsmanship. After more than 30 moves, Lu Ming's casual spear attack broke the old man's swordsmanship and forced him to retreat. However, the old man was not depressed. Instead, he looked at Lu Ming with excitement and hope. Lu Ming pondered for a while and explained the flaws of the old man's swordsmanship according to what he had observed and his own understanding. After listening, the elder savored it carefully. He was ecstatic, and his face was full of excitement. He bowed respectfully to Lu Ming and said, Thank you for your guidance, young Master Tianyan. Senior, you're welcome, Lu Ming said with a smile. Then, the old man walked down the fighting ring with satisfaction. Mr. Tianyan, I'm here to learn from you. As soon as the old man walked down the fighting ring, a burly man rushed up. It's my turn. On the other side, someone also rushed up the fighting ring. It's my turn. Get out of here. You're the one who should get out. The two of them roared with killing intent and were about to start a fight. The surrounding crowd was dumbstruck, and so was Lu Ming. Stop. If you want to challenge him, come one by one. Otherwise, you're disqualified. The judge shouted with a speechless expression. He had been in charge of the Dtian battle arena for many years, but this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Judge, I'm the one who challenged. The burly man shouted, Nonsense, it's me. The other person didn't back down either. All right, you go first. You're the last one. The referee's face darkened as he pointed at the middle-aged man. The burly man was burly man. The other person stood at the side, unwilling. The burly man jumped onto the fighting ring and cupped his fists at Lu Ming. He said respectfully, Mr. Tianyan, I also use a spear. Please give me some pointers. A long spear appeared in the burly man's hand. Please. Lu Ming smiled. Instantly, the middle-aged burly man collected his thoughts and shook his long spear. More than 10 spear flowers appeared in the air. Beams of spear gleams shot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming did the same and dodged dozens of attacks. He allowed the burly man to use his strongest martial skill and defeated him easily. He pointed out his weakness. The burly man was overjoyed and left with gratitude. Then, the other person went up and Lu Ming did the same. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming won 5 consecutive battles. However, Lu Ming's 5-match winning streak was completely different from others. Every time his opponents lost, they would leave after thanking him profusely. Anything can happen to this Tianyan. Myong Cheng sighed. Ming Peek nodded in agreement. After 5 consecutive victories, it was time for the 6th battle. A famous expert went up for the 6th battle. This expert had won 6 consecutive battles in the Dtian battle arena. With such a record, he didn't need to be tested and could directly fight. However, this person was still very polite to Lu Ming. He knew that he wasn't a match for Lu Ming. He came up with the intention of asking Lu Ming for pointers. "Mr. Tianyun, please give me some pointers." This person was also very polite. Lu Ming nodded. In the end, there was naturally no suspense. Lu Ming defeated his opponent easily and gave him some pointers. 6 consecutive victories, 7 consecutive victories, 8 consecutive victories. Soon, Lu Ming won 10 consecutive battles. His 10 consecutive victories were easily won, and he didn't even injure a single person. "Tianyun, you have won 10 consecutive battles. If you continue, you will have to challenge an expert of the 7th stage of the martial master realm. Do you still want to continue?" The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked, "Continue." Lu Ming nodded without hesitation. The audience was filled with anticipation. How much could Lu Ming achieve by challenging someone of a higher stage? How many consecutive victories could he achieve? The D-Tian battle arena wouldn't allow an ordinary 7th stage martial master to challenge someone of a higher stage. Those who went up would definitely be experts of the 7th stage. "All right." The judge nodded and looked around. "Is there a 7th stage martial master realm expert who wants to challenge Tianyun?" "Let me." Just as the judge finished speaking, a young man in his 30s stood up and went up the stage. "Yang Tai, you can directly fight." When the judge saw this young man, he didn't let him test his strength. It was obvious that this person was quite famous in the D-Tian battle arena and was recognized by the judge. "Tianyun, go ahead. I'm not someone those 6th stage martial master realm experts can compare to." Yang Tai was very confident as he looked at Lu Ming. "Please." Lu Ming smiled. Boom. Yang Tai exploded with all his strength. The long spear in his hand emitted a bright light as it pierced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear shook, and the body of the spear vibrated. There was a terrifying fluctuation in the air, and a terrifying shock wave charged toward Yang Tai. Bang! Yang Tai was hit by the shock wave, and his body was like a cannonball. He was sent flying and heavily fell off the stage. CSI, the entire arena was filled with gasps. One move, just one move. He didn't even use any martial skills. He just shook his spear and sent Yang Tai flying off the stage. Strength, powerful strength. In the previous 10 matches, Lu Ming was very polite. He defeated his opponent after a few dozen moves and didn't show any powerful strength. This made some people forget about Lu Ming's strength. Now, they finally remembered that Lu Ming's strength was extremely terrifying. Yang Tai struggled to get up and looked at Lu Ming in shock before he staggered away. Then, the challenges continued. Consecutive wins, an unstoppable winning streak. In less than an hour, Lu Ming had already obtained 7 consecutive wins. The entire arena was filled with excited discussions. 7 wins in a row. Do you guys think Tianyun can achieve 10 wins in a row? It's hard to say. At this stage, the D-Tian battle arena won't be able to sit still and will send out a true expert. Until now, the D-Tian battle arena hasn't sent out a death fighter. Chapter 243. There were 2 main types of challenges. One was to pick an opponent on the spot. If there were no challengers, the D-Tian fighting arena would send out experts. The D-Tian fighting arena's strength was unfathomable. Naturally, they had raised a group of experts. The experts sent out by the D-Tian fighting arena were known as death fighters. Just from the name, one would know that death fighters were powerful people who didn't fear death. When they attacked, there would definitely be blood. "Tianyun, wait a moment." The judge said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. At the highest point of the D-Tian fighting arena, there was a luxurious room. There was a window in the room that allowed one to see the entire D-Tian fighting arena. At this moment, there were a few old men watching. This Tianyan is very powerful. It's time to send out a death fighter. One of the old men in black said, "That's right. However, normal death fighters are definitely not Tianyun's match. I suggest that we let number 18 go first. If number 18 can't win, number 17 will go." Another old man said, "I agree. I agree too." The other old men nodded. Then they passed down the order. Not long after, a tall and muscular man, with scars all over his body, rushed onto the fighting arena. The man's body was filled with killing intent. His eyes were like that of a wild beast as he stared at Lu Ming. There were 2 words carved on the man's face: number 18. Number 18, it's the D Tian Fighting Arena's death fighter. Number 18. When the audience saw this man, they all exclaimed. Rumor has it that within the death fighters of the D Tian battle arena, only those with extremely strong battle strength have the qualifications to carve words on their faces. Rumor has it that within the D Tian battle arena, there are 5 strongest people within the 7th layer of the martial master realm. They are respectively from 16 to 20. It seems like the D Tian fighting arena values Tianyan a lot. Nonsense. If Tianyan were to win 10 times in a row, he would have to pay 90,000 spirit crystals. How could the D Tian fighting arena let Tianyan win so easily? That's true. Amazing. The 10 spiritual crystals I spent today were worth it. I bet those who didn't come will regret it to death. Lu Ming's gaze shifted slightly as he looked at 18. Lu Ming felt a strong, murderous aura from the other party. D Tian's gladiator, things are finally getting interesting. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up into a smile, and a hint of battle intent appeared in his eyes. Tianyan, you have to be careful. 18 won't show any mercy. For a genius like Lu Ming, the referee was quite kind and gave him a reminder. Thank you, Lu Ming said with a smile. All right, let's begin. The referee announced. Roar. Following the referee's announcement, 18 let out a beast-like roar. With a wave of her hand, a meteor hammer appeared in her hand. The meteor hammer emitted a terrifying whistling sound as it bombarded Lu Ming. The meteor hammer was a strange weapon. It was very difficult to master, but once it was mastered, its power was also very strong. The meteor hammer was really like a meteor as it bombarded Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming didn't dodge. Instead, he stabbed out with his spear. Ding! The tip of the spear accurately pierced the meteor hammer, producing a deafening sound. The spear didn't move at all, but the meteor hammer flew back at an even faster speed than before. 18's ferocious expression changed drastically. He leaped into the air and dodged the meteor hammer. The meteor hammer smashed into the battle stage, causing a loud explosion. If it wasn't for the fact that the battle stage was protected by the D Tian battle stage's experts, the battle stage would have exploded. 18's combat strength is probably comparable to an ordinary LV8 martial grandmaster. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. However, an ordinary LV8 martial grandmaster was nothing in front of Lu Ming. Whoosh! After that, Lu Ming took a step forward. Like a ghost, he appeared in front of 18 and swept his spear at her. Boom! 18 used the iron chain to block, but it was useless. Lu Ming's spear directly hit her body. She flew hundreds of meters away with the meteor hammer before stopping. Victory! Tianyan won. It was a clean victory. The audience looked at Lu Ming in shock. They weren't surprised that Lu Ming won. However, they were shocked that Lu Ming won so easily. At the highest point of D Tian's gladiator arena, a few elders were watching with sparkling eyes. This Tianyan is definitely a peerless genius. He's a demon-level peerless genius. Only other peerless geniuses who are 1 level higher than him can fight with him. It's hard for others to stop him. An elder sighed. That's right. This Tianyan. I feel that he hasn't used most of his strength. Even if 16 goes up, she won't be his match. Then let him win 10 times in a row. Of course. This is a good thing. When the time comes, we'll be the ones to earn the most. Haha, that's right. Let's let 17 and 16 go up. Not only were the elders not unhappy, but their faces were filled with joy. Next, a man with the number 17 carved on his face went up. He was still no match for Lu Ming. 9 wins in a row. After 9 wins, a lady in her 20s went up. This lady had the number 16 carved on her face. This lady was much stronger than 17 and 18. She had actually comprehended the force. Unfortunately, compared to Yang Zaijian, she was still a lot weaker. She wasn't Lu Ming's match at all. Lu Ming unleashed his fire force and defeated his opponent easily. 10 wins in a row. Lu Ming won 10 times in a row. According to the rules, he would be rewarded with 90,000 spiritual crystals. Tianyan, do you want to continue? The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. If he continued, he would have to fight someone 2 levels above him. Although it was rare to win 10 times in a row, there would still be one every once in a while. However, it was rare to be able to win against someone 2 levels above him. If he could win 10 times in a row, he would be rewarded with 100,000 spiritual crystals. For every additional win, he would be rewarded with another 100,000 spiritual crystals. How tempting was that? However, there were only a few people who could get it. The current 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire were all geniuses who had won 2 times in a row. Among the 6 heroes, 5 of them had won 4 times in a row. Only Qiu Changkong, the leader of the 6 heroes, the peerless genius of the 10 Directions sword faction, had managed to achieve a record of 7 consecutive victories. This was the highest record in the Burning Sun Empire in the past 100 years. Would Tianyan accept it? I choose to continue. Lu Ming said without hesitation, 10 wins in a row for only 90,000 spiritual crystals was too little. Lu Ming's goal was to win 2 levels above him. Those rewards were what tempted Lu Ming. He wouldn't miss it. Whoosh! The scene was in an uproar. Everyone was excited. Tianyan had agreed to continue the challenge. There would be a good show to watch. Challenging someone 2 levels higher was not something that could be seen often. It was extremely rare. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, a happy smile appeared on the referee's face. He said, Tianyan, we need to arrange for people to challenge someone 2 levels above us. We can't do it immediately. We have to do it in 3 days. Are you willing? Chapter 244. All right, let's continue the challenge 3 days later. The judge revealed a happy smile and clasped his fists to the crowd. Everyone, the day after tomorrow will be the Ditian Auction House's half-yearly auction. I hope that everyone will be able to attend. Today's challenge shall end here. Auction house. Lu Ming was startled and showed a hint of interest. Then he walked down the fighting stage. Brother Tianyan, I admire you more and more. Do your best 3 days later and break the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. Your name will spread throughout the Scorching Sun Empire. Ming Feng couldn't wait to run over and said excitedly as soon as he got off the fighting ring. Lu Ming smiled. Among the 6 heroes, the other 5 had achieved 4 consecutive victories with a gap of 2 levels. Qiu Changkong had achieved 7 consecutive victories with a gap of 2 levels. Could he break through? To be honest, Lu Ming didn't have the confidence. Sometimes it depended on luck. If he was 2 levels higher and encountered a genius like the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire, it would be difficult for him to win. Lu Ming shook his head and didn't think too much about it. The three of them left the arena and walked towards the Star General Hall. Brother Tianyan, are you going to the D-Tian auction the day after tomorrow? Ming Peek asked. Of course. Lu Ming smiled. Then let's go together. Call my sister. Ming Peek said. Lu Ming nodded and said, Myongcheng, Ming Peek, you guys go back first. I still have something to do. All right. Myongcheng and Ming Peek nodded and returned to the Star General Hall. Lu Ming, on the other hand, walked toward the market. The D-Tian auction was considered a side business of the D-Tian fighting arena. It would not be held frequently. Usually, it would be held once every half a year. However, every time it was held, there would be many precious treasures. Lu Ming was quite tempted, but now he had less than 200,000 spirit crystals. It was too little. If he encountered a treasure that he liked and didn't have enough spirit crystals to buy it, wouldn't he vomit blood? Therefore, Lu Ming planned to sell all the miscellaneous items that he had with him. Lu Ming had all sorts of refining materials, spirit grasses, pills, spirit weapons, and quite a few cultivation methods and martial techniques piled up into a mountain. Lu Ming didn't have much use for them. He planned to sell them all. After arriving at the market square, Lu Ming walked into the shops one by one, selling a portion of each shop. 3 hours later, Lu Ming sold all the items. More than 300,000 spiritual crystals. Those things were sold for 300,000 spiritual crystals in total. Together with the spiritual crystals he had before, he had almost 500,000 spiritual crystals. 500,000 yuan was more or less enough. After that, Lu Ming returned to the dormitory. The next day, a piece of news spread throughout the imperial capital, and it was spreading like wildfire. The Star General Hall's peerless prodigy, Tianyan, was going to challenge someone 2 ranks above him in the D-Tian martial arena. He had hopes of breaking the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. The news caused an uproar as soon as it was spread, challenging the record of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. No one had been able to do it in the past few years. Countless people were discussing and guessing. Lu Ming naturally heard the news as well. Lu Ming immediately thought of the D-Tian martial arena. This piece of news must have been released by the D-Tian martial arena. There was no other reason other than the fact that they wanted more people to spectate the battle 3 days later. That way, how many spiritual crystals could the D-Tian martial arena earn? Lu Ming smiled bitterly. This D-Tian martial arena was too good at seizing the opportunity to earn money. However, Lu Ming didn't mind. A day passed quickly. The next day, Lu Ming, Ming Chun, Ming Peek, and Pearl walked towards the D-Tian auction house together. The D-Tian auction house wasn't far from the D-Tian martial arena. Young Master Tianyan, you are a VIP. Please follow me to the VIP room. When Lu Ming and the others arrived at the D-Tian auction house, a beautiful young lady welcomed Lu Ming. VIP room? Lu Ming and the others were stunned. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He guessed that this was the D-Tian martial arena's arrangement. Of course, he wouldn't reject it. The 4 of them followed the young lady and arrived at a VIP room. The D-Tian auction house was split into 2 parts. One was the main hall where ordinary bidders sat. On the second level, above the main hall, there were many VIP rooms that surrounded the main hall. The VIP rooms were elegant and had tea, fruits, and snacks. It was comfortable and peaceful. Those who could enter the VIP rooms represented their status. Lu Ming and the others walked into VIP room number 7. They sat in the VIP room and looked outside through the glass. The main hall was bustling with voices. There were at least 50,000 people. Furthermore, the number of people was still increasing. There are so many people. Ming Peek looked outside, excitedly. The treasures later are the most important. Even if we can't afford them, it's still good to broaden our horizons. Pearl smiled. She looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. She understood that if it wasn't for Lu Ming, how could the three of them have the qualifications to enter the VIP room? Half a year ago, she had also been here, but she was only in the main hall. After a while, an old man in a white robe walked up to the high platform in front of the main hall. The main hall quietened down. "I am Du Ji, the host of this auction. Thank you for coming. Now, the auction officially begins. First, let's welcome the first auction item." The white-robed old man said loudly, following which a beautiful lady with graceful curves carried a jade plate. On the jade plate, there was a piece of red metal. "Everyone, I'm sure you've already seen that this is a piece of red rock spiritual iron. It's an excellent material for refining level 4 spiritual weapons. Now, the starting price is 10,000 spiritual crystals. Every bid must be at least 1,000 spiritual crystals." Duji announced. 10,000 spirit crystals? So expensive. Ming Peek was speechless. This is a material that can be used to refine level 4 spiritual weapons. Of course it's expensive. Pearl said. As soon as Duji finished speaking, someone immediately made a bid. "I'll pay 11,000 spirit crystals. I'll pay 12,000 spirit crystals." Slowly, the price increased. In the end, it was bought by an old man at 22,000 spirit crystals. Next, there is a bottle of elixir. It is very useful for warriors in the great martial mentor realm. The starting price is 800 spirit crystals. Each bid must be at least 100 spirit crystals. Then, it was time for the second auction item. It was impossible for every item to be as expensive as the first one. It would easily cost tens of thousands of spiritual crystals. Warriors below the martial arts grandmaster realm would not be able to afford it. "I'll pay 1,000 spirit crystals. I'll pay 1,100 spirit crystals." Soon, some warriors in the great martial mentor realm began to bid. Lu Ming watched while drinking tea. Lu Ming was not interested in elixirs that could increase the cultivation of great martial mentor realm. This kind of elixir was useful for ordinary warriors, but for him, it was not very useful. It was far less effective than buying monster cores to refine. However, the others were different. They didn't have a heaven-defying bloodline, like the spirit-devouring bloodline. Thus, pills that could increase one's cultivation were extremely rare for them. Soon, the price of this bottle of elixir was pushed to 2,000 spirit crystals. 2,100 spirit crystals. Pearl also began to bid. His eyes were full of desire. 2,200 spirit crystals. However, someone immediately added on 2,300 spirit crystals. 2,500 spirit crystals. The price continued to rise. Chapter 245. 3,000 crystals. Suddenly, a clear voice rang out and spread throughout the hall. Pearl was stunned because the voice belonged to Lu Ming. "Lu Ming wants this bottle of pills." Since Lu Ming had made a bid, all the more Mingzhu would not do so. 3,100. In the hall, someone continued to bid. 4,000 crystals. Lu Ming smiled faintly and increased the price to 4,000 spirit crystals. The hall fell silent. Lu Ming bid without hesitation and increased the bid by 900 crystals. Obviously, he was determined to win. Pearl, Myongcheng, and Ming Peek were also surprised. Although this bottle of elixir was not bad, it was only effective for low-level martial masters. Given Lu Ming's cultivation, it was unlikely to be of much use. He did not know why Lu Ming was so interested in it. "Is there anyone else who wants to bid?" Duji asked. No one bid. Then Duji asked 3 times, but no one bid. This bottle of pills naturally belonged to Lu Ming. After a while, a beautiful girl brought the pills in. Lu Ming took out 4,000 crystals and gave it to the girl. "Pearl, this bottle of pills is for you." Lu Ming took the pills and handed them to Pearl. For me." Pearl was stunned. Myong Cheng and Ming Peek were also stunned. "The pills that Lu Ming bid just now were for Pearl. I saw that you wanted it, so I bid for it and gave it to you." Lu Ming smiled, faintly. "No, I can't accept such a precious pill." Although Pearl wanted it very much, he still hurriedly refused. "You're welcome. It's just a bottle of pills." Lu Ming smiled. "Sister, just accept it. Don't waste Brother Tianyun's good intentions." Ming Feng said with a grin. He blinked his eyes at Ming Zhu with all his might. His eyes were filled with an inexplicable smile. "Yes, second sister, just accept it." Myong Cheng smiled like a sly old fox. Pearl's face suddenly turned red. No one knew what she was thinking. Her big eyes were watery, and her voice was as soft as a mosquito. "Thank you, young Master Tianyun." Then she took the bottle in Lu Ming's hand, and her eyes were full of joy. On the side, Myong Cheng and Ming Peek grinned. They looked at Lu Ming and Pearl and nodded from time to time. "What are you laughing at?" Lu Ming looked at the two of them speechlessly. He didn't think too much about it. He just bought it because Pearl wanted it. He didn't ask for a lot of spirit crystals. He just wanted to thank Pearl for helping him when he entered the Star General Hall. The auction continued. One item after another was auctioned off. Some were extremely rare, and the price went up to tens of thousands of spirit crystals. Some were only a few hundred spirit crystals. However, Lu Ming was a little disappointed. These items were of no use to him, and he wasn't interested in them. Myong Cheng and Ming Peek took a fancy to a few items and participated in the auction. Soon, more than 100 items fell into the hands of different people. The next item is the last item of this auction. Of course, it's also the most precious item. At this moment, Du Ji said in a clear voice, "The finale item is about to be auctioned." The atmosphere in the auction house suddenly surged. In every auction, there would be a finale item. It was definitely a rare and precious item. Lu Ming was also a little interested. Du Ji smiled in satisfaction when he saw the atmosphere in the auction house rising. He clapped his hands, and a young girl walked up with a jade plate. The jade plate was covered with golden silk gauze. It was impossible to see what was inside. If you want to know about this treasure today, you have to know its function. As everyone knows, although the physical body is not the foundation of martial arts practice, it is still an extremely important auxiliary path. Those with a strong physical body not only have strong vitality and amazing recovery ability, but also can greatly enhance the martial arts practitioner's combat strength. There are even many other wonderful uses. Du Ji explained the uses of the physical body. Could it be a treasure that can help in the cultivation of the physical body? Lu Ming's interest was immediately aroused. Many people in the auction house were also looking forward to it. Du Ji smiled and continued, "However, the cultivation of the physical body is extremely difficult. It's very slow and exhausting to rely on cultivation techniques to cultivate slowly. However, there are also shortcuts. There are many treasures in the world that can quickly temper the physical body and increase the strength of the physical body in a short period of time. These treasures have different effects." Du Ji didn't seem to be in a hurry and explained slowly. However, the others were holding back and immediately shouted, "What kind of treasure is it? Tell us." "Yes, what is it? Let's open it and see." Du Ji smiled and continued, "If you want to know, it's very simple. I'll ask you a question, and you'll know. Among the treasures in the world, What is the treasure that has the greatest effect on the physical body? What treasure has the greatest effect on the physical body? Of course, it's the connate original liquid. Why? You don't have the connate original liquid here, do you? A voice rang out, sounding somewhat incredulous. The auction house suddenly fell silent. Some were shocked, but then they secretly shook their heads. Connate original liquid? How was that possible? It was said that the connate original liquid was a treasure that gathered the essence of the world and was born after millions or even tens of millions of years. Many of the connate original liquid were even born at the beginning of the world. It was very helpful to the physical body and was known as the best in the world. Of course, the connate original liquid was also divided into different grades. According to the different effects, it was divided into 4 grades: low grade, medium grade, high grade, and supreme grade. However, even if it was a low-grade Sciention origin liquid, it was still a rare and precious treasure. The fire spirit milk that Lu Ming obtained back then could also be used to refine the physical body, but it was trash compared to the connate original liquid. Ha ha ha, this friend is right. This treasure is the connate original liquid. Dushi laughed out loud. What? This time, the auction house was in an uproar. It was actually the connate original liquid, which exceeded everyone's expectations. How is that possible? It's actually the connate original liquid. Get it! I must get it! Countless people shouted with blazing flames in their eyes. They looked at the tray in the hands of the girl on the high platform and wanted to take it for themselves. In the 7th VIP room, Lu Ming's eyes were also burning. Miang Cheng and his siblings were so shocked that their mouths were wide open. Du Xi was very satisfied with the crowd's reaction. The more enthusiastic the crowd was, the higher the price would be later. Du Xi stretched out his hand and said, "Quiet down first." The auction house suddenly fell silent. Although this treasure is the connate original liquid, it's only the low grade, and there's not a lot of it, Du Xi said. Everyone nodded. It was normal that it was the low grade. How could a medium-grade connate original liquid appear in the Burning Sun Empire? Even if it appeared, not many people could afford it. At this moment, Du Xi stretched out his hand and removed the gauze on the tray, revealing a red stone ball. This is the connate original liquid. Chapter 246. Du Xi smiled and explained, the Sciention original liquid is sealed in this stone orb. There aren't many of them, only 9 drops. 9 drops? That's enough, someone whispered. On the other hand, there were people who looked excited. The Sciention original liquid was too precious. If there were too many of them, not many people could afford it. But if there were only 9 drops, they could give it a try. Moreover, even if there were only 9 drops, the effect would be amazing. I'm going to get these 9 drops of Sciention original liquid. Lu Ming looked at the stone orb with determination. His physical body had been stuck at the perfect grade 2 for a long time. As long as he could get these 9 drops of Sciention original liquid, his physical body would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. It would be easy for him to break through to the 3rd grade. If that was the case, his battle prowess would have a huge increase. 9 drops of Sciention original liquid. The elders of the Ditian fighting ground have studied it, and there's no mistake. All right, let's start the auction. The starting price for each drop of Sciention original liquid is 10,000 spiritual crystals. The starting price for 9 drops is 90,000 spiritual crystals. Every bid must be at least 5,000 spiritual crystals. Du Xi announced. CSI. Many people gasped and looked dejected. Although they had expected it, they were still shocked when they heard the starting price. 90,000 spiritual crystals was enough to extinguish the fire in their hearts. 100,000 spiritual crystals. Although the price was high, it wasn't something that everyone couldn't afford. Someone immediately made a bid, and it came from a VIP room. From the voice of the third VIP room, he seemed to be very young. 110,000. Immediately after, a rather old voice came from VIP room number 9. 120,000. A voice suddenly sounded in the hall. Everyone looked over and saw a tall and muscular man. 150,000. In VIP room number 3, the young voice sounded, but it was a little cold. 160,000. Immediately after, the 9th VIP room made a bid. In the hall, the muscular man's eyes flickered as he stared at the stone orb on the stage. His eyes were filled with unwillingness, but in the end, he let out a long sigh and gave up. 160,000 spiritual crystals had already exceeded all of his assets. He could only give up. 170,000. The third VIP room continued to raise the price. 180,000. VIP room 9 did not give in at all. At this moment, Lu Ming did not bid. There was no need to bid now. It would be the same if he bid later. VIP room 3 and VIP room 9 were competing with each other. Soon, the price of the Xiantian origin liquid had reached a high of 250,000. At that moment, the voice in VIP room number 3 was incomparably cold. At this moment, there were 5 young men sitting in VIP room 3. However, the expressions of the 5 young men did not look good. Where did this old man come from? He actually dares to compete with senior brother He Qiuming for treasures. He's courting death. A young man with a slightly pale face said with a murderous look, "That's right. Looks like he doesn't know that we're disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect." Another person said coldly, among the 5 people, the one sitting in the middle was a handsome young man in a blue robe. At this moment, his face was very cold. He frowned and looked at VIP room 9. "Senior, I'm Qiuming, a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. These 9 drops of Xiantian origin liquid are very useful to me. I hope you can give them to me." His words were very polite, but his voice was cold and filled with murderous intent. An extremely powerful aura spread out from VIP room 3. This was clearly a threat. A disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. Everyone in the hall was shocked. Their eyes were filled with fear. "You're from the Qiu family of the 10 Directions sword sect." The old voice came from VIP room 9. There was an old man sitting inside. At this moment, he was filled with fear. "That's right." Qiuming replied coldly, "Fine, I'll give these 9 drops of Xiantian origin liquid to you young people." The old man in VIP room 9 pondered for a while and finally sighed. The 10 Directions sword sect was definitely a giant in the blazing Sun Empire. Not many people dared to offend them. The old man's withdrawal made Qiuming smile. 250,000, 250,000. Any higher bids? Duji asked as he looked around. "This is Xiantian origin liquid. It's extremely rare in the world. In the blazing Sun Empire, it's extremely useful to the physical body. If you miss this chance, you don't know when you'll get another chance. If you want it, hurry up and bid. 250,000. Are there any higher bids?" Du Ji tried his best to tempt the crowd. He was very unhappy with Qiuming's performance just now, so he naturally shouted to his heart's content, "This old man." Qiuming gritted his teeth and glared at Du Ji. If looks could kill, Du Ji would have been pierced through. 300,000. Right at this moment, a clear and bright voice suddenly rang out and spread throughout the entire place, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Someone had bid. After knowing that it was a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect, he still dared to bid. Who was this person? Everyone's gaze immediately turned towards VIP room 7. That's right. The person who had bid was Lu Ming. Moreover, he increased the price by 50,000, pushing the price to 300,000. 300,000. All right, this friend bids 300,000. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Du Ji was overjoyed and announced, bam, in VIP room 3. Qiuming slammed his palm on the table and broke it into pieces. His face was extremely gloomy. Where did this brat come from? How dare he bid when he knows that we're disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect? Is he courting death? The pale, young man roared, and his voice echoed throughout the hall. I bid 300,000 spiritual crystals. Are you going to bid or not? Lu Ming curled his lips and said calmly, You're courting death. Qiuming finally couldn't take it anymore and shouted coldly, Brat, I'll give you 5 breaths to withdraw your bid. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. If you have the money, pay up. If you don't, why are you still here? Scram. This was Lu Ming's reply. It was overbearing and domineering. The entire auction hall was shocked. This mysterious person was so overbearing that he even asked the 10 Directions sword sect to scram. Qiuming's face turned pale. A powerful aura spread out and shrouded VIP room 7. Brat, I'll kill you now. Qiuming roared. You can try me. Lu Ming replied in a domineering manner. Although Du Ji's cultivation was at the 8th grade martial master realm, why would Lu Ming be afraid of him? Die! Qiuming roared as he walked out of the VIP room and was about to head to VIP room 3. How dare you? Suddenly, Du Ji furiously roared, and an extremely terrifying aura exploded out, crushing down on Qiuming's body like a mountain. Qiuming's body trembled, and he was unable to move. Martial Ancestor Realm. This is the aura of a martial ancestor realm. The entire hall was shocked. They didn't expect Du Ji, who looked so friendly, to be a martial ancestor realm expert. Old man, what are you doing? Are you courting death? I'm a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. Qiuming roared. What bullshit 10 Directions sword sect? How dare you cause trouble at the D Tian auction hall? Die. Chapter 247. Qiuming shuddered violently. He was used to acting like a tyrant, and he had just casually shouted. At this moment, he finally recalled that this was the D Tian auction house, and Du Ji was a member of the D Tian Divine Palace. Even if he killed Du Ji, the Decimo Sword Sect would definitely not dare to say a word. Thinking of this, Qiuming's body stiffened as he broke out in cold sweat. Senior, I was wrong. I was too anxious just now. I hope Senior won't take offense. Qiuming hurriedly shouted with a pleading face, Go back to your room. Du Ji yelled. Qiuming was relieved as he hurried back to VIP room 3. Damn it! After Qiuming returned to the VIP room, he let out a deep roar. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He had embarrassed himself just now and would definitely become a laughing stock. It was all thanks to Lu Ming. Investigate. I must find out who that kid is. I will burn his bones and scatter his ashes. Qiuming roared. Senior brother Qiuming, I know who he is. Suddenly, a young man who had been silent spoke. You know, Qiuming looked at the young man. He is Tianyun from the Star General Hall. I will never forget his voice. The young man gritted his teeth and said, This young man was one of the 6 geniuses from the Decimo Sword Sect who had comprehended force in the Blood Ant secret realm. Tianyun? It's him? Good, very good. I am here to kill him. Now, he dares to snatch the Xiantian original liquid from me. He brought this upon himself. Qiuming said in a cold voice, Senior brother Qiuming, in 2 days, Tianyun will challenge someone 2 levels above him at the D Tian fighting ground. When that time comes, We will kill him and challenge the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. Dream on. The pale young man sneered. All right, we will let him live for 2 more days. We will let him have the 9 drops of Sciention original liquid. When we kill him, the Sciention original liquid will be mine. Qiuming said coldly, 300,000 spiritual crystals. Is there anything higher than 300,000 spiritual crystals? In the hall, Duji continued to host the auction. Everyone was silent. This time, the auction was not targeted at martial ancestor realm experts. Most of them were great martial masters. 300,000 spiritual crystals was not a small amount even for a martial ancestor, let alone a martial grandmaster. Therefore, no one continued to bid. Duji asked 3 times, but no one bid. The 9 drops of Sciention origin liquid were successfully obtained by Lu Ming. Lu Ming paid the spirit crystal and directly kept the stone into the Supreme Divine Palace. The auction finally came to an end. Lu Ming, Myongcheng, and the others returned to the Star General Hall. Then Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and took out the stone. The stone was about the size of a fist. As he held it in his hand, it emitted a shocking amount of essence energy. There were 9 drops of Sciention original liquid sealed inside. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He held the stone in his hand and squeezed it with all his might. Kacha! The stone cracked open, and an even denser essence qi permeated the air. Next, a drop of Sciention origin liquid seeped out from the crack. The Sciention origin liquid was as black as ink. It emitted a little bit of light. It was very magical. Lu Ming opened his mouth and sucked the drop of Sciention origin liquid into his mouth. He put the rest of the Sciention origin liquid into a jade box and circulated the raging flame Vajra skill to refine it. The Sciention origin liquid turned into an endless amount of essence qi and seeped into his muscles and bones. Under the raging flame Vajra skill, Lu Ming's body continuously strengthened. Lu Ming's body's strength increased crazily. His body, which was stuck at the complete 2nd rank, also started to break through. 2 hours later, Lu Ming's body trembled. His bones made crackling sounds like beans being fried. His muscles wriggled continuously. After a long while, it finally calmed down. 3rd rank physical body. I have finally reached the initial rank 3 physical body. Lu Ming muttered. His face was full of joy. The Sciention origin liquid was indeed the best body refining treasure in the world. Just a drop of lower grade Sciention origin liquid allowed Lu Ming's body to break through and reach the initial rank 3 physical body. Having reached the 3rd rank physical body, Lu Ming's explosive power had increased. His combat strength had also increased substantially. Continue, Lu Ming muttered. Then he swallowed the 2nd drop of Sciention origin liquid and began to refine it. It was more difficult to improve the 3rd rank physical body than the 2nd rank physical body. However, with the help of the Sciention origin liquid, Lu Ming's body was still improving rapidly. More than a day later, Lu Ming had cultivated the raging flame Vajra skill to the complete realm. In other words, Lu Ming's body had reached the complete rank 3 physical body. The 8 drops of Sciention origin liquid had also been completely refined. If I want to continue to improve the grade of my body, I have to find a more advanced body refining technique. Lu Ming pondered. The raging flame Vajra skill could only cultivate the body to the complete rank 3 physical body. This was already the limit. What a strong physical strength. My combat strength has increased by at least 30% compared to before. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. At this moment, his expression changed as he heard a soft knock on the door. With a thought, He walked out of the Temple of Paragon and opened the door. It was Myeongcheng and his siblings. "Brother Tianyun, today is your challenge," Ming Peak said hurriedly. Lu Ming slapped his head. He had been so engrossed in refining the Xiantian origin liquid that he had almost forgotten about the time. "Let's go." The four of them immediately rushed to the Dtian fighting ground. At this moment, the Dtian fighting ground was already filled with people. All the seats were occupied. It could be described as a sea of people. There were no less than 300,000 people. Every person had to pay 10 spiritual crystals as an entrance fee. The Dtian fighting ground's income today was no less than 3 million spiritual crystals. It was terrifying. However, at this moment, the Dtian fighting ground was in an uproar. Why isn't Tianyun here yet? What's going on? Could it be that he's not coming? No, I've come here for nothing. I'll refund the spiritual crystals. I'm not going to watch this. I gave up on a mission to come here. Is he going to scam me? In the crowd, Chiu Ming and the others stood there with ugly expressions on their faces. Could it be that Tianyun knows that he offended senior brother Chiu Ming in the previous auction and doesn't dare to come? I think that's the case. A few disciples from the 10 Direction Sword sect discussed loudly. This time, the 10 Direction Sword sect had sent over a dozen disciples. The higher-ups of the Dtian fighting ground. A few elders from the Dtian fighting ground frowned as they looked down. What's wrong with Tianyun? Why isn't he here yet? I've already sent someone to fetch him. A few elders discussed softly. Suddenly, an old man's expression changed. He smiled and said, "Tianyun, you're here." At this moment, Tianyun walked through the entrance of the Dtian fighting ground and walked towards the fighting stage. Tianyun is here. It was unknown who shouted, but the entire place quietened down. A few 100,000 pairs of eyes looked towards the entrance. Lu Ming walked in front with big steps. Myeongcheng and his siblings followed behind him. "Haha, Tianyun is here. It seems like he's delayed by something. With his talent, how can he not come? Who said that Tianyun is afraid and doesn't dare to come? You're really measuring the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure." Everyone was excited, but a few disciples from the 10 Direction Sword sect had ugly expressions. Chapter 248. "Humph, it's good that you're here. You're still going to die." Chiu Ming said with a gloomy face. Myeongcheng and his siblings went to the stands while Lu Ming went to the center of the fighting ring. All eyes were on Lu Ming, who was in the fighting ring. All right. Now, Tianyun's 2-level challenge officially begins. Who wants to come up and fight? The judge announced loudly, "I'll have a try." An old man said loudly as he went to the fighting ring. It's the first freak of Ming Mountain. He's an 8th-level martial master, and he's won 7 battles in a row against people of the same level. He's considered an expert among 8th-level martial masters. He's qualified to be Tianyun's first candidate. Someone recognized the old man as soon as he went to the fighting ring. "You can fight him." The judge nodded, acknowledging Weirdo of Ming Mountain's strength. "Child Tianyun, please." Weirdo of Ming Mountain stared at Lu Ming, emitting a powerful aura. Lu Ming smiled, and a long spear appeared in his hand. Bang! Strange Ming Shan took a step forward and dashed toward Lu Ming at a high speed. Wind Demon Staff technique. Ming Shani yelled. The dragon-head walking stick in his hand swung toward Lu Ming like a whirlwind. One stick after another, it was continuous. Weirdo of Ming Mountain showed his strength as soon as he made a move. He was one of the top fighters among the LV8 martial masters. Lu Ming thrust out his long spear and fought with Weirdo of Ming Mountain. He didn't use force. Weirdo of Ming Mountain was strong, but he didn't need to use force. After a dozen moves, Weirdo of Ming Mountain was swept away by Lu Ming's spear. Weirdo of Ming Mountain was defeated, which was expected by everyone. However, the experts who came later would be stronger and stronger. The real challenge had just begun. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming looked around. Tianyan, I'll kill you. With a loud shout, a disciple of the Shifeng Sword School jumped onto the fighting ring. Disciples of sects like the Decimo Sword faction, who could reach such a cultivation base at such a young age, were all geniuses. There was almost no need for them to test their strength. Tianyan, if you know what's good for you, hurry up and return the Xiantian origin liquid to Senior Brother Qiuming, then kneel down and admit your mistake in front of everyone. If you do that, I can consider only crippling your cultivation and sparing your dog life. The disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect shouted coldly. He was extremely arrogant and shameless. Idiot! Lu Ming responded indifferently. What did you say? You're courting death. Even if I kill you, your items will still be mine. The 10 Directions sword faction disciple roared, his aura erupting as he charged towards Lu Ming. It had to be said that this disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect was very strong. He was much stronger than the eccentric of Mount Ming. No wonder he was so arrogant. Unfortunately, his opponent was Lu Ming. Whoosh! The power of the wind was infused into the long spear, causing the long spear's speed to reach the extreme. Everyone only saw a spear shadow flash, and in an instant it appeared in front of the 10 Directions sword faction disciple. Puchi! The long spear pierced through the heart of the 10 Directions sword faction disciple. The 10 Directions sword faction disciple screamed and fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Instakill in one move. What a powerful strength. Everyone was shocked. The 10 Directions sword faction disciple was extremely arrogant a moment ago, but he was instantly killed. Tianyan is too strong to be able to kill someone 2 levels higher than him in one move. This disciple of the 10 Directions sword faction is not weak. He's a top expert even among the 8th level martial grandmasters. Tianyun's combat strength is definitely equivalent to a 9th level martial grandmaster. That's terrifying. Can he really break the record of the 6 Burning Sun heroes? Many people were discussing in shock. At that moment, Lu Ming had already won 2 matches in a row, while the other 5 of the 6 Burning Sun heroes had only won 4 matches in a row. Everyone was looking forward to it. You're courting death. A furious roar came from the 10 Directions sword faction disciple. A figure jumped high and landed on the fighting ring, causing it to shake violently. It was Qiuming. Tianyan, your winning streak ends here. It's impossible for you to break the record of the 6 Burning Sun heroes. Qiuming looked at Lu Ming coldly. Do you think you can stop me? Don't be like the previous one. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Don't compare me to him. Tianyan, you've offended the 10 Directions sword faction. Today, I'll make sure you die, miserably. Qiuming said coldly. At the same time, his aura became stronger and stronger. There was also a force in his aura, the force of metal. I forgot to tell you one thing. I've already refined all 9 drops of Khanate original liquid. Lu Ming suddenly changed his tone and said with a smile, What? You? Qiuming's face turned pale, and his force almost dissipated. The Khanate original liquid was very useful to him. He wanted to kill Lu Ming, mostly because he wanted to take the Khanate original liquid. But now, Lu Ming said that the Khanate original liquid had already been refined. Qiuming's eyes turned red, and he roared furiously, Tianyan, you deserve to die. You deserve to die. Kung! The sound of a sword rang out, and a brilliant sword chi slashed towards Lu Ming. The sword qi was infused with the force of metal. It was extremely sharp and indestructible. Shua! Lu Ming shook his long spear and unleashed the power of the wind, charging toward Qiuming. Boom! Heaven and earth roared, and the fighting stage shook continuously. Terrifying shockwaves spread out in all directions. They were evenly matched in the first exchange. Kill! Qiuming didn't manage to hit Su Mo with his first attack. Qiuming's combat strength was absolutely terrifying. He wasn't as talented as Yang Zaiqian, but his cultivation was much higher than Yang Zaiqian's. Similarly, his combat strength was also much higher than Yang Zaiqian's. It wasn't difficult for Qiuming to kill someone with a higher cultivation level. Boom, boom. The two of them exchanged more than 20 moves, and the space around them shook. Qiuming's combat strength is too strong. He shouldn't have come out in the third round. He's trying to stop Tianyin's winning streak. That's right. From the looks of it, Tianyin has the strength to break the records of the other 5 heroes. Unfortunately, Qiuming is stopping him. As long as Tianyin defeats Qiuming, he will have no problem breaking the record of the 5 heroes. The crowd discussed fervently. Is this all you've got? You've disappointed me. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly said calmly, "What?" Qiuming was stunned. Boom. The aura on Lu Ming's body erupted like a volcano. An incomparably powerful aura burst out. It was the force of fire, wind, and fire combined to unleash a terrifying power. A long spear pierced through all obstructions and stabbed towards Qiuming. This spear couldn't be dodged or blocked because it was too fast and too powerful. No, Qiuming was scared out of his wits. He roared crazily and used all his strength to block the attack. However, it was unnecessary. The long spear pierced through his heart. The true energy on the long spear shredded his heart into pieces. Qiuming was dead. The crowd was stunned for a few seconds before they burst into an uproar. Chapter 249. Who else from your Decimo sword sect wants to fight? Lu Ming looked at the omnidirectional sword sect's area. However, the disciples of the Shifeng sword sect were silent. What a joke! Even Qiuming had been defeated. Among them, there were still a few experts of the 8th martial master realm, but none of them were as strong as Qiuming. Damn it! Wait until the geniuses on the 10 Directions Sword Faction's silver ranking arrive. Let's see how you'll die. The disciples of the Decimo Sword Faction all had gloomy expressions as they roared in their hearts. Lu Ming sneered. His gaze swept across the crowd, but still no one stepped forward to fight. Tianyin, since that's the case, Tian Martial Arena will send someone to fight. The referee said. Lu Ming nodded. After a while, a young man with a murderous aura stepped onto the stage. However, this person was not as strong as Qiuming and was defeated by Lu Ming in just a few moves. 4 consecutive victories. Following this, the Tian Martial Arena sent another person up, but he was still defeated by Lu Ming. 5 consecutive victories had broken the record of the 5 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. However, Lu Ming's victory didn't stop there. After that, the Sky Martial Arena sent out more and more people to fight. These people were all experts among the death fighters, each stronger than the last. Sadly, all of them were defeated by Lu Ming. 6 consecutive victories. 7 consecutive victories. He tied with Qiu Changkong's record, but not long after, Lu Ming won again. 8 consecutive victories. The crowd was in an uproar. Qiu Changkong's record was finally broken. Heavens! Tianyin is going to defy the heavens. Could it be that his talent is stronger than Qiu Changkong's? That might not be the case. Although Qiu Changkong was strong when he was a martial grandmaster, he was not much stronger than the other 5 heroes. When Qiu Changkong broke through to the martial ancestor realm, he underwent extreme nirvana and awakened a terrifying second bloodline. That was how he managed to leave the other 5 heroes in the dust and firmly sit on the throne of the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire. That's right. Although Tianyun is strong now, it's hard to say when he reaches the martial ancestor realm. That's true, but it's still very scary. Moreover, what's Tianyun's limit? How many consecutive victories can he achieve in the end? Everyone guessed in shock that Tianyun wouldn't be able to skip 2 levels and obtain 10 consecutive victories, right? As it turned out, their speculations were coming true. For the 9th match, Tian Martial Arena sent out a powerful expert who was even stronger than Qiu Ming. However, he was still not a match for Lu Ming. 9 consecutive victories. This caused the elders in the upper echelons of the Tian Martial Arena to be stunned. This little fellow's strength is not bad. In the future, he might even be able to join the Tian Divine Guards. We have to pay close attention to it. When the time comes, the credit for the recommendation won't be small. It is still too early for him to join the Tian Divine Guards. We will have to see how his second martial ancestor bloodline awakens. What we need to do now is to stop his winning streak. Otherwise, us old fellows will suffer a loss. A few old men were discussing among themselves, looking rather distressed. Let number 10 go up. He is the only person who obtained the top 10 numbers with the cultivation of an 8th level martial master. If even he is defeated, there is nothing we can do. Let's do it. Soon, the order was given, and a bare-chested young man in his 20s stepped onto the platform. There was a number 10 tattooed on his face. Number 10, why is it number 10? Some of the people who knew the inside story of the Tian Martial Arena cried out in surprise. The death fighters of the Tian Martial Arena, number 1 to number 10, were usually top-notch experts among the 9th level martial masters. But now, number 10 was a young man in the 8th level martial master realm. Many people understood that this number 10 must be extraordinary. It's an expert. This is more interesting. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of battle intent. This number 10 did not emit a strong aura, but Lu Ming could faintly sense danger. Kill. Number 10 suddenly let out a loud roar, and a long spear appeared in his hand. In an instant, dozens of spear lights pierced through the air towards Lu Ming. He also uses a spear. Great. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Buzz. The long spear trembled, and it let out a buzzing sound. Similarly, spear lights shot out and engaged in a great battle with number 10. On the 200-meter-long platform, 2 figures of light crisscrossed, and spear lights shot out with a whistling sound. It was incomparably terrifying. At the same time, there were 3 forces on the platform that were constantly bombarding and resisting. This little guy called Tianyun is really shocking. At such a young age, he has already comprehended 2 forces, and both of them have already reached the small success stage, especially the fire force. It's close to the large success stage. That's right. Number 10's mountain force is also close to the large success stage, similar to Tianyun's fire force. However, Tianyun's wind and fire combination is even stronger. If not for number 10's cultivation being so much stronger than Tianyun's, I'm afraid he would have already lost. In my opinion, it's only a matter of time before he loses. In the upper echelons of the martial arena, a few elders were watching and discussing. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and number 10 had exchanged more than 100 moves. Awesome, awesome. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably bright. The more he fought, the braver he became. On the demon-suppressing spear, The wind and fire force converged, forming a shocking destructive power. In this battle, Lu Ming used all his strength except for his earth rank, martial skill, and bloodline. How powerful was Lu Ming now? The battle dragon technique was at the 4th level, and his body was at the peak of the 3rd stage, with the wind and fire force converging. An ordinary martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the martial master realm would not be able to take more than a few moves from Lu Ming. From this, one could see how powerful number 10 was. The audience of more than 300,000 held their breaths and stared at the platform, afraid that they would miss the most important scene. Boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, another 100 moves had passed. Lu Ming became braver and braver and gradually gained the upper hand. A shocking killing intent erupted from number 10's body. Like a wild beast, he was not afraid of death, but he was still suppressed by Lu Ming. Bang! After another 100 moves, number 10 was sent flying by Lu Ming's spear. He slid a few 100 meters and fell off the platform. Roar! Number 10 growled and wanted to rush to the platform regardless of his injuries. Enough! The referee shouted. Number 10's body trembled, and he stopped, fear in his eyes. Tianyun wins this battle. The referee announced. Phew! The audience exhaled. They were too nervous just now, and many people held their breaths until their faces turned red. Only now did they let out a long sigh. Then there was a shocking uproar. More than 300,000 people were talking excitedly. 10 consecutive victories, 2 levels higher. That's terrifying. It hasn't happened in the Burning Sun Empire for at least 500 years. A miracle, a miracle. After today, Tianyun's name will be known all over the world. If Tianyun grows up, he will be as strong as the 6 heroes, or even stronger. I'm witnessing the birth of a miracle. In the crowd, Ming Chung and his siblings were so agitated that they were trembling all over. On the other hand, the people from the 10 Directions sword sect were all pale and bloodless. Lu Ming, will you continue with the challenge? Then, this question came to everyone's mind. Fighting 3 levels higher. Moreover, it was not as simple as 3 levels higher. His opponent would not be an ordinary LV9 martial master. He would definitely be stronger than number 10. Would Tianyun continue? Countless people were looking forward to it. This little guy won't really continue, will he? Among the higher-ups, several elders said with a wry smile. If Lu Ming continued to fight, they would lose money. Tianyun, do you want to continue? The referee looked at Lu Ming with a trace of nervousness and speechlessness in his eyes. Chapter 250. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Ming shook his head. I'm not challenging anymore. Lu Ming said. Huh. Everyone was stunned. He's not challenging anymore? Why isn't Tianyun challenging anymore? He clearly won. If he were to challenge someone 3 levels above him, he would be able to get an additional 1 million spirit crystals. Yeah, why isn't he challenging anymore? I'm about to witness history. Countless people were disappointed. Only the judge and a few elders of the DTon fighting arena were overjoyed. The judge suppressed his joy and said, Tianyun, since that's the case, I'll announce that you've won 10 consecutive victories. Your reward is 1 million spirit crystals. Lu Ming nodded. He didn't challenge anymore because he knew that if he were to show off too much and earn too many spirit crystals from the DTon fighting arena, it would definitely make the DTon fighting arena unhappy. Also, if he continued to challenge, he would have to face stronger opponents. In that case, all his trump cards would be exposed. It wasn't wise to expose all his trump cards in front of his enemies. Therefore, he chose to end the challenge. 1 million spirit crystals was enough for now. However, the audience couldn't help but wonder if Lu Ming would win if he continued to challenge and how many consecutive victories he would get. Of course, there was no answer to this. Some people thought that Lu Ming had already used all his strength. If he continued to challenge, he would definitely lose. Therefore, he chose not to challenge anymore. Some people thought that Lu Ming still had some strength left. They didn't know why he chose not to challenge anymore. Everyone had different opinions. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with them. He followed the judge and received his reward of 1,000,000 spirit crystals. Lu Ming left in satisfaction. Of course, Miang and his siblings were also there. Big brother Tianyun, you're too powerful. If I were no, 1/10 as powerful as you, I would laugh my head off even in my dreams. Ming Peak looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Lu Ming smiled and said, "Let's go. What do you want to buy? It's my treat today." Really? Ming Peak was overjoyed. Without the slightest hesitation, he dragged Pearl and Miang Cheng towards the market square. When they arrived at the market, Ming Chung and his siblings chose from all over the place and spent 5,000 to 6,000 spirit crystals. To Lu Ming, this was nothing. Lu Ming was now a millionaire. Then, he returned to the Star General Hall. At the entrance of Lu Ming's dormitory, he saw Hua Qi waiting there. "Hua Qi, were you waiting for me?" Lu Ming smiled as he walked over. "Lu Ming, you have exceeded my expectations time and time again. Today, you actually managed to achieve 10 consecutive victories, surpassing Qiu Changkong's record." Hua Qi smiled. Of course, Ming Peak ran to Miangcheng's place, so there was only Lu Ming here, so he didn't need to worry about what he said. "You found out so quickly?" Lu Ming was stunned. Almost all of the higher-ups in the imperial capital know about it now. Hua Qi smiled. Lu Ming was speechless. The speed of the news spreading was really terrifying. "Lu Ming, my father wants to see you." Hua Qi suddenly said, "Your father?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. Hua Qi's father, the current emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, wants to see him? Yes, Lu Ming, I didn't hide your information from my father. You won't mind, right? Hua Qi looked at Lu Ming and said, "Why would I?" Lu Ming smiled. In fact, Lu Ming had already expected this. Since he agreed to help Hua Qi, it was normal for him to tell his father. Seeing that Lu Ming didn't mind, Hua Qi smiled and said, "Lu Ming, I have also told my father about your father. During this period of time, my father has sent a large number of people to investigate, and there seems to be some progress." "What? There's news about my father?" Lu Ming was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. "Lu Ming, don't be happy too early. It seems to be just some progress." Hua Qi said, "Let's go and see your father." Lu Ming couldn't wait. Having some information was better than having no information at all. It was better than finding a needle in a haystack. Then, Lu Ming left the Star General Hall and sat on a beast carriage with Hua Qi, heading towards the Imperial Palace. After arriving at the Imperial Palace, Lu Ming followed Hua Qi to the Imperial Garden. When Lu Ming arrived at the Imperial Garden, he saw a middle-aged man with a burly figure wearing a golden dragon robe, sitting in a pavilion and drinking tea. He was just sitting there casually, but there was an intimidating aura around him. This was the aura of an emperor. Without a doubt, this was the current emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire. Hua Zhengxing. Son greets father. Arriving at the pavilion, Hua Qi bowed. This commoner, Lu Ming, greets, Your Majesty. Lu Ming also cupped his fists in greeting. "Ha, nephew Lu Ming, there's no need to be so courteous. Come, have a drink with this emperor." Hua Zhengxing was very forthright as he laughed heartily. Lu Ming and Hua Qi entered the pavilion and took a seat. Beside them, the emperor's trusted aide poured tea for Lu Ming and Hua Qi. "I've long heard that nephew Lu Ming is a dragon among men, unparalleled in the world. Seeing you today, it's true. Hua Zhengxing smiled. Your Majesty is too kind, Lu Ming said modestly. Hua Zhengxing took a sip of tea and said, Lu Ming, in this period of time, you've created many miracles, but at the same time, you've also offended the 10 Directions sword sect. From now on, you must be careful. However, since you've already joined the Star General Hall and are old Eight's close friend, this emperor can promise you one thing. As long as it's a competition between peers, no matter what happens, this emperor and the imperial family will definitely stand on your side. Lu Ming's heart moved. Hua Zhengxing's words implied that as long as it was a competition between peers, he could do whatever he wanted. The imperial family would definitely stand firmly behind him and protect him. Many thanks, Your Majesty. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Although the imperial family had declined, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. With the emperor's promise, Lu Ming did not need to be afraid when encountering disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect in the future. He could directly kill them. If the older generation of the 10 Directions sword sect made a move, the imperial family would definitely step in. This way, Lu Ming had fewer worries. There's more. Hua Zhengxing's hand moved, and a storage ring appeared in his hand. He said, Here are the blood refinement pills. There are a total of 4,000 pills. Lu Ming's heart moved. It seemed that the blood ant egg last time had been refined into blood refinement pills. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and accepted it. This was what he deserved. Your Majesty, I heard that you know the whereabouts of my father? At this time, Lu Ming asked. He wanted to ask as soon as he arrived, but he had been holding it in. Now, he finally could not hold it in anymore. Hua Zhengxing pondered for a moment and said, During this period, I've been sending people to investigate. The investigation started 8 or 9 years ago and finally found some clues. It's very likely that your father was imprisoned by the 10 Directions sword sect for some reason. This is certain. Moreover, it's very likely that your father isn't dead. However, we haven't found out where exactly he is imprisoned yet. Father is really not dead. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Thereafter, he was filled with endless rage. His father was actually imprisoned by the 10 Directions sword sect. Damn it, the 10 Directions sword sect deserves to die. Chapter 251. Lu Ming, don't worry, I will do my best. It won't be long before I find your father's whereabouts. Hua Zhengxing said with a serious face. Lu Ming thanks your Majesty first. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. This time he was sincere. Although he knew that the reason why Hua Zhengxing was helping him was nothing more than because he had taken a fancy to his talent and wanted to rope him in, it didn't matter as long as it was beneficial to both sides. Hua Zhengxing smiled, looking quite satisfied. He then took out a gilded invitation card and said, Lu Ming, 3 months later, it will be my 60th birthday. This is the invitation card. You must attend it 3 months later. Lu Ming's heart moved, and he didn't refuse. He took the invitation and said, Don't worry, Your Majesty. Lu Ming will definitely be there. Ha! Lu Ming, there aren't many people who can make my father personally send an invitation. Only the 5 major sects and the ministers in the imperial capital. Hua Qi smiled. Lu Ming, you should cultivate well during this period. When the 5 major sects gather in the imperial capital, the geniuses on the silver ranking and even the gold rank disciples will come. I'm afraid that the disciples on the silver ranking of the Shifeng sword sect will find trouble with you. You must be careful. Hua Zhengxing warned seriously. Lu Ming thanked him again. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming and Hua Qi got up and left. In the general hall, Lu Ming sat on the bed. Father, how have you been all these years? Why did the Shifeng sword sect imprison you? Is it because of the bronze pendant? Father, I'm useless. I can't save you now. Lu Ming clasped his hands together tightly. Strength, he was still too weak. If he was strong enough, he could kill his way to the Shifeng sword sect and force them to release him. But now, he was still too far away. He urgently needed to improve his strength. Martial Ancestor Realm. I must reach the Martial Ancestor Realm as soon as possible. Only Martial Ancestor Realm experts in the Burning Sun Empire can be counted as real experts. Only Martial Ancestor Realm experts have the right to speak and can fly. It will be of great help to me. After the consecutive battles in the Tion Martial Arena, I feel that my bottleneck has loosened. Tomorrow, I will go and buy a batch of demonic cores and focus on raising my cultivation. Then, Lu Ming appeared on the third platform of the Temple of Paragon. He put in the spiritual crystals and started to fight with himself. The next day, Lu Ming went out early and walked towards the market square. It was still the treasure pavilion. Young master, you're here. Please come in. The eyes of the girl who received Lu Ming last time lit up when she saw Lu Ming. She brought Lu Ming to a VIP room. Ha! Young master, long time no see. Soon, the shopkeeper walked in. Sir, what would you like to buy this time? Shopkeeper, give me 100 Class 9, Class 3 monster cores. Lu Ming said, 100. The shopkeeper was shocked. That's right. Is there a problem? Lu Ming frowned slightly. Did the treasure pavilion not have enough stock? No problem. The shopkeeper quickly shook his head. He was just shocked and did not understand why Lu Ming wanted to buy so many monster cores. Also, give me 20 portions of Class 9, Class 3 monster blood essence. Lu Ming continued. Okay. Please wait for a moment. Young master, it will be here soon. The shopkeeper nodded his head repeatedly. His face was full of smiles as he walked out. Soon, the shopkeeper came back with 100 monster cores and 20 portions of monster blood essence. Young master, the original price of these monster cores and blood essence is 1 million spiritual crystals, but you have a VIP card, so you can get a 20% discount. So, it will be 800,000 spiritual crystals. The shopkeeper said with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. It was good to have a VIP card. This way, he could save 200,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming paid the spiritual crystals and kept the monster cores and blood essence. He left the treasure pavilion under the admiring gazes of the shopkeeper and the admiring gazes of the beautiful shop assistants. After returning to the Star General Hall, Lu Ming went straight to the Earth Essence Cave. It was best to cultivate in the Earth Essence Cave. Lu Ming went to the 6th level of the Earth Essence Cave and sat down cross-legged in a secret room. With a flash of blood, the spirit-devouring bloodline appeared. A giant python, more than 10 meters long, with distinct scales, floated above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming took out a monster core. The giant python opened its mouth and sucked the monster core into its mouth. At the same time, there was a huge amount of fire attribute spiritual chi. Now that the spirit-devouring bloodline had reached level 7, its speed of devouring spiritual chi was terrifying. It was even faster than a level 9 bloodline. The huge amount of fire attribute spiritual chi and the energy of the monster core could not be refined by the bloodline and poured into Lu Ming's body. The bottleneck of peak level 6 martial master finally began to loosen, and there were signs of a breakthrough. I'll add 2 more. With a move of his hand, he took out 2 more monster cores and let the giant python swallow them. Boom! Surging energy poured into Lu Ming's body and finally turned into a loud explosion. 7th level martial master breakthrough. After breaking through to level 7 martial master, Lu Ming's bloodline became even more terrifying. It continued to absorb the spiritual chi of the outside world. The spiritual chi of the outside world formed a funnel and was constantly devoured by the spirit-devouring bloodline. At the same time, Lu Ming took out another monster core and continued to devour it. The true chi in Lu Ming's body surged crazily. A few hours later, the phenomenon disappeared. 7th level martial master. My true chi is twice as dense as a 6th level martial master. However, it's still not enough. I have to continue to break through. After that, Lu Ming continued to devour the monster cores and cultivate. Every day, he spent half of his time cultivating the true battle dragon art and devouring monster cores to increase his cultivation. The rest of the time was used to comprehend the power of fire and figure out martial skills. Time flew by, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. 100 monster cores had been completely devoured by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's cultivation had risen to the peak of level 7 martial master. Yes, 100 level 3 monster elixirs could only raise Lu Ming's cultivation to the peak of 7th level martial master. After reaching level 7 martial master, the effect of the class 9 monster cores would be much weaker. He had also devoured all 20 class 9 monster blood essences and used them to increase his bloodline rank. However, his bloodline was still at level 7 and did not break through. Lu Ming estimated that unless it was a martial ancestor realm blood essence, it would take a long time for his bloodline rank to increase. Martial ancestor blood essence. At the thought of this, Lu Ming could not help but smile bitterly. Martial ancestor blood essence was level 4 monster blood essence. Lu Ming had a headache just thinking about the price. The fire element spiritual chi in the 6th floor of the earth element cavern is still too weak. Let's go to the 7th floor. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It was said that only martial ancestor realm experts could go to the 7th floor of the earth origin cave, because the fire attribute spiritual chi was too dense and violent. It was very dangerous for martial grandmasters to go down. However, Lu Ming had the spirit-devouring bloodline and was not afraid. He planned to use the dense spiritual chi of heaven and earth to help him break through and comprehend the power of fire. He felt that the power of fire was very close to reaching the greater success stage. He walked out of the secret room and headed to the 7th floor. As soon as he reached the 7th floor, Lu Ming felt as if he had arrived at the mouth of a volcano. The terrifying and violent fire attribute spiritual chi constantly attacked Lu Ming. Good, this kind of environment is what I need. Chapter 252. A few hours later, Lu Ming stopped cultivating and began to comprehend the force of fire. Time flew by, and another month and a half passed. On this day, the stone door of the secret chamber opened, and Lu Ming walked out. Lu Ming had a smile on his face. It was obvious that he had gained a lot during this time. There was only half a month left until the emperor's birthday. Lu Ming planned to ask about his father's situation. He walked out of the Hall of General and walked toward the palace. Suddenly, the people on the street looked up at the sky and discussed. "Who is that? How dare you fly so brazenly in the sky above the imperial city?" Someone shouted. Ordinary martial ancestor realm experts were forbidden from flying above the imperial city. Only the overlords were not restricted by this rule. But now, someone dared to do so. Lu Ming also looked up. In the sky, there was a young figure in his 20s. He wore a red robe and had a tall stature. He was currently walking through the air towards the depths of the imperial capital. "It's Ling Yanqi, one of the 6 heroes." Someone exclaimed. "What? It's Ling Yanqi?" Many people were shocked. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. It was Ling Yanqi, one of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire, and the strongest of the younger generation in the Crimson Cloud Valley. This was the first time Lu Ming saw the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. "Brother Ling, wait!" Right at this moment, a soft shout came from behind. Then, a young man in a white robe with a handsome face stepped through the air and arrived. It's Feng Wuji, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's Feng Wuji. "Another 6 heroes." Someone shouted. "He's Feng Wuji." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. In the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Lu Ming had heard Feng Wuji's name countless times. Feng Wuji was the pride of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's younger generation. Without a doubt, he was the strongest in the sect. Although Duan Mulin was known as a peerless talent, he was still too young to compete with Feng Wuji. Lu Ming had been in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect for more than a year, but this was the first time he had seen him in person. "Brother Feng, you came so quickly. Let's go together." Ling Yanqi smiled, and when Feng Wuji arrived, the two of them walked side by side and disappeared into the sky. "Oh my God, 2 of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe are here today. This is so rare." That's right. Normally, it's already extremely difficult to meet one. Now, 2 of them have appeared all of a sudden. His Majesty's 60th birthday is coming soon. No matter what, the 5 great sects have to put on a show. They will definitely gather in the imperial capital. It's inevitable that the geniuses of the 5 great sects will gather here. When the time comes, will the 6 heroes gather and fight? I'm really looking forward to it. That's hard to say. Among the 6 heroes, Qiu Changkong is invincible, but the other 5 have never fought before. I don't know who is stronger and who is weaker. It would be great if we could have a peak duel this time. On the streets, countless people were discussing. As for the fact that they couldn't fly in the Imperial City, they simply ignored it. If the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe couldn't fly in the Imperial capital, who else could? They were the future overlords of the Burning Sun Empire. In the future, the entire Burning Sun Empire would be their world. Lu Ming didn't say anything and continued to walk toward the Imperial Palace. However, a sharp light flashed across his eyes. The 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. He would reach this height sooner or later, or even surpass it. He successfully entered the Imperial Palace and met with Hua Qi. Unfortunately, although the Imperial Palace had sent out a large number of people, there was still no news of his father. Lu Ming sighed and could only wait. After discussing the current situation with Hua Qi, Lu Ming left the Imperial Palace. When he arrived at the entrance of the Star General Hall, he saw that a large number of students had gathered and were dispersing. "Tianyan, he's back. Damn it, why did he only appear now? Why didn't he appear before? It's all his fault." Murmurs could be heard from the surrounding students. Of course, they were whispering, afraid that Lu Ming would hear them. Lu Ming frowned. He didn't understand what was going on. "Big brother Tianyan." At this moment, with a soft cry, Ming Feng came over. "Ming Peak, what's going on?" Lu Ming asked. "Big brother Tianyan, it's the Shifeng sword faction. Just now, the disciples of the Shifeng sword faction came and threatened to cripple you. However, you weren't here and everyone said that you were in seclusion. Those disciples of the Shifeng sword faction injured more than a dozen students of the Star General Hall. They were extremely arrogant." Ming Peak whispered. "Shifeng sword faction again." Killing intent flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. "Big brother Tianyan, I think you should avoid them for now. I heard that among the disciples of the Shifeng sword faction, there's a genius on the silver list. He's an existence that stands at the peak of the martial grandmaster realm and is extremely powerful." Ming Peak said worriedly. "If they come again, let me know." Lu Ming said in a domineering tone before he returned to his dormitory. In the following days, Lu Ming stayed in his dormitory and practiced various martial techniques on the third platform of the Temple of Paragon. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. During this half a month, the geniuses of the 5 major sects gathered in the imperial capital. Not only were there geniuses of the martial grandmaster realm, but there were also geniuses of the martial grandmaster realm. Even the gold-class disciples of the various sects could be seen occasionally. However, during this half a month, although all the sects had gathered, it was very peaceful. Even the disciples of the Shifeng sword faction didn't look for Lu Ming again. However, everyone felt that the atmosphere wasn't right, as if it was the eve of a storm. It was unusually depressing. Half a month later, the emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, Hua Zhengxing's 60th birthday celebration began. Early in the morning, Hua Qi took a beast carriage to pick up Lu Ming. They arrived at the imperial palace together. The birthday celebration was held in the front yard of the imperial palace. The area was extremely spacious, but there were only a few dozen tables. Because those who could come here were all people of noble status, there weren't many people. Lu Ming followed Hua Qi and sat at a table on the right. As time passed, the number of people gradually increased. Some of Hua Qi's brothers and sisters, as well as the imperial concubines, princes, and ministers, all took their seats one by one. The Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley and the elders have arrived. A loud shout spread throughout the entire venue. The faces of the princes, princesses, imperial concubines, and ministers all changed as they stood up together. Lu Ming didn't want to be too special, so he also stood up. At the gate, a group of 6 people walked in with majestic steps. The person in the lead looked middle-aged with a full beard. He wore a red robe and was extremely tall and sturdy. His gaze swept across, and everyone felt as if a vast sea was surging towards them. It was incomparably terrifying. Behind him, there were 4 old men who also wore red robes, but the red robes were trimmed with gold. They were the golden-robed elders of the Crimson Cloud Valley. The last one was a young man, but he was one of the 6 heroes, Ling Yanqi. Greetings to the Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley. All the imperial concubines, princes, and ministers bowed to the Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley. It could be seen how declining the imperial family was. They were respectful in front of the 5 major sections. Haha, no need to be so polite. Where's His Majesty? Hasn't he arrived yet? Chapter 253. Haha, Brother Ling, you came so quickly. Please forgive me for not going out to welcome you. Bold laughter rang out as Hua Zhengxing strode over with a few guards in tow. The other concubines, ministers, princes, and princesses bowed to Hua Zhengxing. The Crimson Cloud Valley Master stood up and cupped his fists. Greetings, Your Majesty. Congratulations on your 60th birthday. This is a small gift. Please accept it. The Crimson Cloud Valley Master took out a jade box and handed it to Hua Zhengxing. Brother Ling, you're too polite. Hua Zhengxing smiled and accepted the jade box, handing it to a guard. Mystic Essence Sword Sect Master and elders have arrived. At this moment, another shout was heard. Lu Ming looked towards the source of the voice. Mystic Essence Sword Sect Master Lin Xue walked in with a few golden-robed elders. Feng Wuji was also beside them. Lin Xue greets Your Majesty. I wish Your Majesty a long life. This is a small gift. Please accept it. Lin Xue walked over, took out a jade box, and handed it to Hua Zhengxing. Brother Lin, it's my honor that you're here. There's no need to be so polite. Please take a seat. Hua Zhengxing accepted the gift and said politely. At this moment, another shout was heard. It was the Ghost Moon Saber Sect Master and elders of one of the 5 major sections. Among them, one of the 6 heroes, the number 1 genius of the Ghost Moon Saber Sect, Shangguan Luo, had also arrived. 3 of the 5 major sects had arrived. Soon, one of the 5 major sects, the Heaven Fiend sect, had also arrived. Everyone took their seats, and Hua Zhengxing chatted with the 4 sect masters. 10 Directions Sword Sect Master and elders have arrived. Sky Suppressing King has arrived. Several shouts were heard. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming looked towards the entrance. A group of people walked in. The person in the lead was dressed in luxurious clothes. His eyebrows were sharp like swords. Although he was middle-aged, he was extremely handsome. Just one look at him, and one could feel that he had the power to conquer mountains and rivers. Beside him was a burly man in his 50s. He had a stocky build and wore a dragon robe. As he looked around, a murderous aura could be vaguely seen. He was like a general who had dominated the battlefield. The person in the lead is 10 Directions Sword Sect Master, Qiu Wuyang. Beside him is Sky Suppressing King. Hua Qi whispered in Lu Ming's ear. Lu Ming nodded. He looked at the muscular man in the Jiao dragon robe and thought, so he is Heavenly King Suppression. Lu Ming still remembered how he had taught the suppressing Heavenly King's son, Hua Jia, a harsh lesson when he had just arrived at the imperial city. Thinking of Hua Jia, Lu Ming realized that there was a pair of eyes filled with killing intent behind Heavenly King Suppression. If it wasn't Hua Jia, who else could it be? Lu Ming smiled faintly at Hua Jia and pointed to his crotch. Hua Jia's face turned red, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, Lu Ming was referring to him peeing his pants in fright. However, with so many important figures present, how could he dare to flare up? He could only grit his teeth and bear with it. Ha! Brother Qiu has graced us with your presence. This emperor is extremely honored. Hua Zhengxing quickly got up and cupped his fists at Qiu Wuyang with a smile on his face. The other concubines, princes, and princesses also stood up and bowed respectfully. Your Majesty is too polite. I came in a hurry today and forgot to bring a gift. Please forgive me. Qiu Wuyang nodded indifferently. There was no trace of respect in his tone. It could be said that he didn't care at all. To put it in a bad way, he didn't take the emperor seriously at all. The other sect masters would more or less greet him politely, but Qiu Wuyang's attitude was cold, not to mention greeting him. He even said that he didn't have time to bring birthday gifts. How childish was this reason? The other sect masters' faces turned ugly. Hua Zhengxing was even more stunned. Then he forced a smile and said, Brother Qiu, it's enough that you're here. There's no need for gifts. Please take a seat. Second brother, I came with Sect Master Qiu and forgot to bring gifts. Please don't take offense. Ha ha. Heavenly King Suppression laughed and sat down on the side. Damn it. Hua Qi was so angry that his whole body trembled and his teeth chattered. Qiu Wuyang and Heavenly King Suppression's attitude was blatant contempt. They even ignored the emperor's authority and didn't take the emperor of the Burning Sun Empire seriously at all. Anger flashed across Hua Zhengxing's eyes, but he hid it well. In the blink of an eye, a smile appeared on his face. He returned to his seat and raised his wine cup. It's my great honor to have all of you here today. Come, let me toast to all of you. Everyone raised their cups and drank it in one gulp. Haha, this is great. All of you are the pillars of the Burning Sun Empire. Hua Zhengxing said with a laugh, but he was interrupted at this moment. All right, Your Majesty, the wine has been drunk and the congratulations have been given. It's time to talk about business. Qiu Wuyang said flatly, stopping Hua Zhengxing in the middle of his sentence. Hua Zhengxing, as well as some other nobles and ministers, had ugly expressions on their faces. Interrupting others was an extremely rude thing to do, let alone the emperor of a country. Qiu Wuyang, did not take the royal family seriously at all. Qiu Wuyang, we are here today to celebrate His Majesty's birthday. This is the proper business. Is there anything else? Lin Shui looked at Qiu Wuyang and said coldly. Qiu Wuyang's attitude was too much. Hua Zhengxing looked at Lin Shui gratefully. Of course there is something else. Although His Majesty's birthday celebration is important, it is much less important compared to this. Qiu Wuyang glanced at Lin Shui indifferently. A murderous aura flashed across the depths of his eyes. He then looked around and said, "Everyone, what do you think of the Burning Sun Empire?" Everyone's eyes flickered. They didn't understand why Qiu Wuyang asked this question. After a while, an elder cupped his fists and said, "With the support of His Majesty and the various sect leaders, the Burning Sun Empire's national strength is improving day by day. It is only a matter of time before we surpass other countries." This elder was the Prime Minister of the Burning Sun Empire and was loyal to the imperial family. Bullshit! Qiu Wuyang flung his sleeves and scolded. The Prime Minister's face flushed red. As the Prime Minister, how could he be scolded in public like this? Where was his dignity? But in front of Qiu Wuyang, he didn't dare to refute and could only hold it in. Hua Zhengxing's face was also ugly. Scolding the Prime Minister was indirectly scolding him. Currently, the 36 countries of Emperor Yun are working hard and improving their strength. The Burning Sun Empire is surrounded by strong enemies. The other countries are eyeing us covetously, and most of them are stronger than the Burning Sun Empire. Everyone knows this, right? Among the 36 countries of Emperor Yun, the Burning Sun Empire's strength is at the bottom. Qiu Wuyang looked around and said loudly. Everyone's face changed slightly. Qiu Wuyang was right. Among the 36 countries of Emperor Yun, the Burning Sun Empire's strength was indeed at the bottom. Moreover, the surrounding countries were eyeing them covetously. The Burning Sun Empire has many geniuses and experts, but why is it getting weaker and weaker? You know the reason? Qiu Wuyang asked. Everyone frowned. They didn't know what Qiu Wuyang was trying to say. Seeing that no one spoke, Qiu Wuyang smiled faintly and said, "That is, the strength of the Burning Sun Empire is too spread out and everyone fights for themselves. It would be strange if they weren't weak." "Oh, Qiu Wuyang, what should we do according to what you said?" Chapter 254. Of course we have to combine our forces. I suggest that we establish a Burning Sun Alliance. All the sects and forces of the Burning Sun Empire must join this alliance and elect a leader. Then they must swear that they will listen to the leader's orders. This way, the Burning Sun Empire will be strong and able to defend against external enemies and become stronger. Qiu Wuyang said loudly, "Ha ha, Qiu Wuyang, your goal has finally been revealed. You want to be the leader and command the world, right?" Lin Shui laughed. "Lin Shui, what are you laughing at? I think that sect leader Qiu's suggestion is great. Besides, who else in the Burning Sun Empire has the qualifications to be the leader?" Heavenly King Suppression stood up and said loudly, "Heavenly King Suppression, you are wrong. In the Burning Sun Empire, the royal family is the orthodox. Why do we have to go through so much trouble and establish a Burning Sun Alliance? We can just listen to His Majesty." Red Cloud Valley Master retorted, "In the world of martial arts, the strong are respected. Forgive me for being blunt, but His Majesty doesn't have the qualifications." Qiu Wuyang said coldly. "Kiki." Hua Zhengxing clenched his fists tightly. Insult. This was a blatant insult. This was equivalent to slapping the emperor's face in public. Damn it, damn it. Hua Qi let out a low roar as his body trembled due to the atmosphere. Bam! A white-haired, elder slammed the table and stood up abruptly. He raised his trembling hand and pointed at Qiu Wuyang as he shouted angrily, "Qiu Wuyang, you have committed treason and insulted His Majesty. You deserve to die 1,000 times. Deserve to die 1,000 times? I think you are the one who deserves to die." Qiu Wuyang's eyes flashed as 2 rays of sword qi shot out from his eyes. They were extremely fast, and there was almost no warning. Puqi, the elder was pierced by the sword qi. 2 sword holes appeared on his aged body. No blood flowed out, but there was no sign of life. "Teacher!" Hua Zhengxing roared angrily. This elder was Hua Zhengxing's teacher and the emperor's preceptor. However, he was killed by Qiu Wuyang's gaze. "Qiu Wuyang, you have gone too far." Hua Zhengxing was seething with anger as he glared at Qiu Wuyang. However, Qiu Wuyang only smiled faintly as if he had just killed an ant. He said, "This old man has ulterior motives. He wants to destroy the great plan of governing the country. I suspect that he is a spy sent by other empires to destroy the Burning Sun Empire. Such a person naturally has to be killed as soon as possible." With just a few words, he managed to turn an imperial preceptor into a spy. Hua Zhengxing, Hua Qi, and the rest of the imperial family were enraged and humiliated, but there was nothing they could do. The Decimo sword sect was too powerful. Hua Qi clenched his fists tightly. Because he used too much strength, his nails pierced into his flesh and blood flowed out, but he didn't feel anything. Lu Ming frowned and patted Hua Qi's back. A stream of true qi flowed into Hua Qi's body. Only then did Hua Qi slowly calm down. Otherwise, he would have suffered from internal injuries due to excessive agitation. "What do you think of my suggestion?" Qiu Wuyang looked around and asked, "I agree with Sect Master Qiu's proposal." At this moment, the Heaven Fiend Sect Master smiled, faintly. The moment Heaven Fiend Sect Master said that, the faces of the other 3 sects' Sect Masters changed. Why would the Heaven Fiend Sect agree? Could it be that they had already joined forces with the Decimo Sword Sect? If that was the case, then the situation was serious. The Decimo Sword Sect was already very powerful. If the Heaven Fiend Sect joined forces with them, then the balance of the Blazing Sun Empire would be broken. "Haha, brother, you really understand me." Qiu Wuyang laughed and looked at the other sections. "Qiu Wuyang, stop dreaming. My Mystic Essence Sword Sect will never agree." Lin Xue sneered. "My Crimson Cloud Valley will not accompany you. My Ghost Moon Saber Sect is not interested either. The sect masters of the Crimson Cloud Valley and Ghost Moon Saber Sect rejected as well." Qiu Wuyang's face darkened. He then looked at Hua Zhengxing and asked, "Your Majesty, what about you?" "Me? Haha, the Blazing Sun Empire has a history of more than 2,000 years. How can I destroy thousands of years of foundation in my hands? Please forgive me, but it is very difficult for me to agree." Hua Zhengxing said coldly. "Hua Zhengxing, you have to think carefully. For the sake of your Hua family and the lives of tens of thousands of people, think carefully." Murderous intent flashed across Qiu Wuyang's eyes as he said coldly, "Qiu Wuyang, what are you doing? Are you threatening His Majesty? Do you really think that the Decimo Sword Sect is invincible?" Lin Xue was enraged and shouted loudly, "I don't know if my Decimo Sword Sect is invincible, but I can still destroy your Mystic Essence Sword Sect." "Why? Do you want to try?" Qiu Wuyang said coldly. "Let's try. Let's see how you can destroy my Mystic Essence Sword Sect." Lin Xue did not back down. The aura on her body surged, and a terrifying sword qi soared into the sky. There was a terrifying aura in this sword qi. "Lin Xue, we have not fought for decades. Today, I would like to see how much you have improved. Boom. As Qiu Wuyang's voice fell, an extremely powerful aura erupted from his body. At the same time, a ray of sword chi soared into the sky. Boom. Lin Xue's and Qiu Wuyang's sword chi met in the air and collided violently. There was an earth-shattering boom, and the entire imperial capital shook. The place where the two sword chi collided formed a light pillar that shot into the sky and smashed the clouds in the sky. At this moment, everyone in the imperial capital was staring at this pillar of light in a daze. They were extremely shocked. The light pillar could be seen even further away from the imperial capital. Everyone was guessing what kind of existences were fighting. In the imperial palace, Lu Ming looked on in shock. Was this the strength of a sect leader and an overlord of the Blazing Sun Empire? It was indeed terrifying. It was as deep as the sea and unfathomable. An ordinary martial arts grandmaster could be killed with a flick of their fingers. In the previous move, the two of them did not really fight. It was just an exchange of aura. If they really fought, the imperial capital would be destroyed. Aura, what powerful aura. Their auras have definitely reached perfection. There is even a hint of will in it. Lu Ming's mind was racing. After one's aura reached perfection, one could use the aura as a foundation to comprehend will. For example, fire intent, wind intent, etc. Will was the essence of heaven and earth and was extremely powerful. Only by comprehending will could one step into the martial king realm. Lin Xue, today I will kill you first. Qiu Wuyang roared. His sword chi soared into the sky and stirred up the clouds. I'm not afraid of you. Lin Xue's long hair fluttered in the wind. She was extremely powerful and did not back down in the face of Qiu Wuyang. Boom, boom. At this moment, two auras exploded. They were extremely terrifying and were not inferior to Lin Xue's and Qiu Wuyang's. It was the Scarlet Cloud Valley Master and the Ghost Moon Saber Sect leader. Their auras combined with Lin Xue's to suppress Qiu Wuyang. Qiu Wuyang, do you really think that the Blazing Sun Empire belongs to the Shifang Sword Sect? Don't go overboard. The Scarlet Cloud Valley Master said. The Scarlet Cloud Valley and the Mystic Essence Sword Sect had always been on good terms. Naturally, he was on Lin Xue's side. Chapter 255. Qiu Wuyang's expression changed instantly. The three Overlord-class characters had joined forces and made him feel extremely pressured. Lin Xue, what are you doing? You attacked Sect Master Qiu in the palace. Are you confident that the imperial family will take you seriously? Heavenly King Suppression roared. Many people despised him. The one who did not take the imperial family seriously was Qiu Wuyang. Heavenly King Suppression did not speak up when he humiliated the imperial family just now. Now, he jumped out to suppress Lin Xue and the others with the imperial family's name. Despicable and shameless. Good, good, very good. Lin Xue, Ling Patian, let's wait and see. Qiu Wuyang repeated the word good several times. His gaze was unusually cold as it swept over Lin Xue, Valley Master Scarlet Cloud, and the rest of the group before finally landing on Hua Xingxing. Hua Xingxing, you take care of yourself. His voice was cold, and the threat was obvious. Then he waved his hand and stepped into the air to leave. The others from Decimo's Sword Sect followed closely behind. Brother, you are so ignorant. The Hua family will be destroyed in your hands sooner or later. Heavenly King Suppression stared at Hua Xingxing angrily. The general trend is to have the entire Hua clan submit to the 10 Directions Sword Sect and become their slaves. Hua Xingxing spoke and looked at Heavenly King Suppression mockingly. You, Heavenly King Suppression's face turned ugly. He snorted and left with Hua Jia and the others. Before leaving, Heavenly King Suppression glanced at Lu Ming, which made Lu Ming's hair stand on end. That was a blatant killing intent. Your Majesty, I will take my leave first. The Heaven Fiend sect leader smiled and stood up to bid farewell, leaving with his men. Only 3 of the 5 major sects were left. The birthday banquet continued, but Hua Zhongxing, Lin Shui, and the other sect masters of the 3 major sects all had serious expressions. Today, Qiu Wuyang suddenly proposed to establish the Sun Alliance, and the Sky Fiend sect agreed. They guessed that the Sky Fiend sect had most likely joined forces with Decimo Sword sect. This was a big deal. The balance of power in the Sun Empire was going to be broken. The Sun Empire was going to enter troubled times. The atmosphere of the birthday banquet was very tense. Soon, the 3 major sects also left. Not long after, Lu Ming also got up to leave. Lu Ming, I'm sure you've seen what happened today. The Decimo Sword sect is simply too ambitious and lawless. Hua Qi gnashed his teeth as he sent Lu Ming to the entrance of the palace. Lu Ming patted Hua Qi's shoulder. He didn't say anything and returned to the Star General Hall. Returning to the General Hall and sitting on his bed, Lu Ming's thoughts flew about, unable to calm down. The Emperor's birthday banquet today allowed him to truly see the undercurrent of the Burning Sun Empire. He had a feeling that the Burning Sun Empire was about to fall into chaos. A terrifying storm would probably sweep through the empire in the near future. As for him, because of his friends and family, he was already deeply involved in the whirlpool and could not stay out of it. The only thing he could do now was to increase his strength as much as possible. Without strength, he would only be crushed into powder in this storm. Taking a few deep breaths, Zhang Xian adjusted his mood and began cultivating. Somewhere in the imperial capital, there was an extremely luxurious palace that was even more luxurious than the palace. This was the residence of the Decimo Sword sect in the imperial capital. In the depths of the palace, in a large hall, Qiu Wuyang sat on the seat of honor. Below him sat the golden-robed elders of the Decimo Sword sect. Bam! Qiu Wuyang slammed the table with a gloomy face. Mystic Essence Sword sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and Ghost Moon Saber sect. I already knew that these 3 sects would not agree. A bunch of damn things. Sect Master. Especially that Lin Shui has been targeting Sect Master. She actually dared to fight Sect Master. She really overestimated herself. A golden-robed elder said, "Humph, Lin Shui, the Mystic Essence Sword sect, won't be arrogant for long." Qiu Wuyang sneered. After pondering for a while, Qiu Wuyang said, "It's time to let them know the strength of our Decimo Sword sect. Pass down the order. Let the younger generation make the first move and break their morale. Let them understand how weak their so-called geniuses are." Yes, the golden-robed elders replied in unison. 3 days later, a piece of news swept through the imperial capital like a storm. One of the 6 heroes of the Decimo Sword sect, Guanhong, challenged the Mystic Essence Sword sect's Feng Wuji and the Crimson Cloud Valley's Ling Yanxi. The location was at the highest peak of the imperial capital, the Sunset Peak. Once the news spread, everyone went crazy. Among the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun sect, each of the other 4 sects had 1 person. Only the Decimo Sword sect had 2 people. One was Qiu Changkong, and the other was Guanhong. Qiu Changkong was the leader of the 6 heroes. He was extremely powerful and could easily suppress the other 5. As for the other 5, they had never fought before. No one knew who was stronger. Now, were they finally going to fight? Countless people rushed to the Sunset Peak. wanting to see the battle between the 6 heroes. When Lu Ming finished his 3-day seclusion and walked out of his room, he saw Ming Peak rushing over. "Ming Peak, what's the hurry?" Lu Ming asked. "Big brother Tianyun, let's go to the Sunset Peak. The battle between the 6 heroes is about to start. Guan Hong is challenging Feng Wuji, and Ling Yanqi, my big brother, and the others have already rushed over and asked me to look for you. If we don't go now, it will be too late," Ming Peak said while panting. The battle between the 6 heroes. Lu Ming was stunned. Then his eyes lit up. He grabbed Ming Peak and took a step forward. They were already 50 meters away. Then he said, "Let's go." Lu Ming grabbed Ming Peak and executed the soaring steps. They were as fast as the wind and rushed to the Sunset Peak. The Sunset Peak was in the imperial capital. It was located in the west of the imperial capital. When Lu Ming approached the Sunset Peak, he saw a shocking scene. Countless figures from all directions converged into a long line and rushed towards Sunset Peak. There were so many people that it was impossible to distinguish them. There were even martial ancestor realm experts among them. Lu Ming followed the crowd and quickly approached the Sunset Peak. Boom, boom. At this moment, there was a terrifying roar at the top of the Sunset Peak. The battle has begun. Guan Hong and Feng Wuji have started fighting. Someone shouted, "Let's go and see." Whoosh, whoosh. One figure after another ascended Sunset Peak. Lu Ming grabbed Ming Peak as if he was weightless. He stepped on a blade of grass, and his figure shot forward 100 meters. He was approaching the top of the mountain. Boom. On the top of the mountain, there were continuous booming sounds. Lu Ming lifted his head and saw 2 figures charging continuously in the sky above the mountain peak. The sword aura was shocking, and terrifying shock waves were surging outwards. A suffocating pressure pervaded the area for several miles. What powerful combat strength! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that one of them was Feng Wuji of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. The other person was tall and had a wild aura. The battle sword in his hand was extremely wide. He must be Guan Hong. Lu Ming was extremely fast. In just a few minutes, he reached the top of the mountain. At this time, Guan Hong and Feng Wuji had already exchanged hundreds of blows. Feng Wuji lose. Chapter 256. The sword seemed to be able to cut through the sky. Its power was terrifying. Feng Wuji also roared and slashed out a shocking sword light. Boom! A terrifying fluctuation was heard, and the space trembled under the powerful sword chi. Then, Feng Wuji's figure was pushed back. His body trembled, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Feng Wuji is injured. Feng Wuji has lost. Suddenly, there was an earth-shattering shout around the Sunset Peak. Countless people were shouting excitedly. The other 5 of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun had finally won. Guan Hong defeated Feng Wuji. The Decimo Sword faction is too strong. Not only did Xiao Changkong defeat the other heroes, but even Guan Hong is so strong. The number 1 sect of the Burning Sun Empire lives up to its name. In the future, the Decimo Sword faction will be even stronger. Many people sighed. Feng Wuji, you're just SOSO. Guan Hong stood in the air and said proudly. Feng Wuji's face was dejected. He sighed and said, "Guan Hong, I didn't expect your force to be so strong. It's not surprising that I lost." Guan Hong smiled proudly and said, "Feng Wuji, in my opinion, you're not qualified to be called the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. Let's change it to the 5 heroes." As soon as he said that, many people's faces changed, and Feng Wuji's face turned ugly. Guan Hong's words were to kick Feng Wuji out of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. If that was really the case, It wouldn't just be Feng Wuji, but the entire Mystic Essence Sword sect. The Mystic Essence Sword sect's reputation would be greatly damaged, and some geniuses might not even choose to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect in the future. Guanhong, you're just lucky to win against Brother Feng. Why are you so arrogant? Someone shouted from the side. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and discovered that there were a few people standing in the sky by the side. Lu Ming was distracted by the battle between Feng Wuji and Guanhong, so he didn't notice them until now. There were 4 people in total. Lu Ming had seen 3 of them at the Emperor's birthday banquet. They were the other 3 of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. Ling Yanqi from the Crimson Cloud Valley. He was the one who shouted. There were also Shangguan Qi from the Ghost Moon Saber sect, and Zuolian from the Sky sect. There was another person who was extremely young, only about 23 or 24 years old. He carried a broad sword on his back and stood proudly. Guanhong looked at Ling Yanqi. Guanhong, this time you declared that you would challenge me and Brother Feng. Now that it's my turn, I won't take advantage of you. Now, circulate your qi and adjust your breathing. Once you've recovered, we'll fight. Ling Yanqi continued. Ling Yanqi, who said I want to fight with you. The one who dealt with you was someone else. Guanhong smiled coldly. Someone else? Ling Yanqi was stunned. He could not help but look at Shangguan Qiong and Zuolian. Ling Yanqi, you're looking at the wrong place. The one fighting with you is me. The young man with a sword on his back stepped forward and said proudly, You. Ling Yanqi was stunned. Everyone else was stunned. This young man was obviously a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect, but almost no one knew him. 10 Directions sword sect actually wanted to let a youth with no reputation fight Ling Yanqi? Was this arrogance or an insult? Ha, Guanhong, are you sure he's qualified to fight with me? Ling Yanqi's eyes were full of anger. Whether he's qualified or not, we'll know after the fight. Guanhong smiled coldly. From now on, the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun will be replaced. The young man said proudly, boy, you're very confident, aren't you? Ling Yanqi laughed out of anger. It's not confidence, it's strength. Remember, the one who defeated you is Qiu Chonglai. The young man shouted, and his aura burst out. The sword on his back unsheathed and flew up to the sky, slashing at Ling Yanqi. The sword shook the heavens and the earth. It was terrifying. In an instant, most of the people's faces changed. They were extremely shocked because the sword was too powerful. In the sky, Ling Yanqi's face turned solemn. His body emitted scorching waves, and a spear appeared in his hand. He waved the spear, and a giant flaming eagle was formed, attacking Qiu Chonglai. Boom! With a loud boom, Ling Yanqi and Qiu Chonglai both retreated. Then, they roared and fought again. He's too powerful. Who is this Qiu Chonglai? He's not famous before, but his combat strength is so strong that he can fight with Ling Yanqi. I'm afraid he's a genius secretly cultivated by the Shifang sword sect. On the Sunset Peak, countless people looked at the battle in the sky and discussed. In the sky, Feng Wuji, Shangguan Luo, and the others looked solemn. Guanhong, on the other hand, revealed a cold smile. Boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 100 blows. Bang! At this moment, an earth-shattering sound was heard. Then a figure flew back. It was Ling Yanqi. The crowd quieted down. Did Ling Yanqi lose? Swoosh! Ling Yanqi retreated for more than 1,000 meters before he stopped. He stood silently in the void, unmoving. Suddenly, Ling Yanqi's body trembled, and a blood arrow shot out from his chest. At this moment, the crowd saw a long sword wound on Ling Yanqi's chest. Ling Yanqi was defeated. He was defeated by an unknown young man from the Shifang sword sect. The Sunset Peak was in an uproar. This news was like a whirlwind spreading from the Sunset Peak to the entire imperial capital. The Shifang sword sect was too strong. First, Guanhong defeated Feng Wuji. Then, a young man appeared and defeated Ling Yanqi. It was too shocking. From now on, the situation of the younger generation in the Burning Sun sect would change substantially. Should he exclude Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi from the list? Or should they add one more person? No matter what, the Shifang sword sect's reputation would reach its peak. In the sky, Ling Yanqi's body trembled slightly. His eyes were filled with disbelief. I told you to remember that the one who defeated you is called Qiu Changlai. Qiu Changlai smiled, arrogantly, a hint of disdain appearing on his face. Brother Ling, are you okay? Feng Wuji appeared beside Ling Yanqi and injected a stream of true qi into him. I'm fine. Ling Yanqi smiled bitterly. Feng Wuji sighed. Today, he and Ling Yanqi were completely defeated. From now on, the reputation of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley would plummet. On the other hand, the Shifang Sword Sect would rise. Wonderful, wonderful. The heroes of the Shifang Sword Sect are really admirable. Zhuo Lian of the Sky Demon Sect clapped his hands and walked out. He then looked at Shangguan Qiong and said, Brother Shangguan, since you're here today, why don't we fight? Let's fight. Shangguan Qiong was very direct. He stared at Zhuo Lian. The crowd was excited. 2 more of the Burning Sun 6 heroes were going to fight. Boom. Without any warning, Shangguan Qiong and Zhuo Lian started fighting. The 2 of them fought fiercely. Ming Peak, stay here and watch. I'll go first. At this moment, Lu Ming said to Ming Peak, Chapter 257. You can keep watching. Lu Ming smiled. He then moved and headed down the Sunset Peak. He didn't come here to see the outcome of the battle between the 6 heroes, but to see their strength. Now that he had a rough idea of the strength of the 6 Burning Sun heroes, there was no need for him to continue watching. He couldn't care less about the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. Lu Ming moved like a gust of wind and returned to the dormitory very quickly. He sat cross-legged on his bed and closed his eyes. The battle scene of the 6 Burning Sun heroes appeared in his mind. He had a rough idea of the strength of the 6 Burning Sun heroes. Feng Wuji, Ling Yanqi, Guanhong, Qiu Changlai, and the others were all at the peak of LV3 Martial Grandmaster Realm, but their combat strength was terrifying. They were at least at LV5 Martial Grandmaster Realm. That was Martial Grandmaster Realm. The higher one's martial arts realm was, the harder it was to fight above one's level. In the Martial Grandmaster Realm, those who could fight above one level were already peerless geniuses, let alone 2 levels. As for Guanhong and Qiu Changlai, they could only win because their force or martial techniques were stronger. The 6 Burning Sun heroes are indeed worthy of their reputation. They are only in their 20s, but many of the older grandmasters are no match for them. Lu Ming thought to himself. However, Lu Ming was not discouraged. Instead, his eyes were burning with passion. Although the 6 Burning Sun heroes were strong, he was confident that he could catch up with, or even surpass them soon. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming left the Star General Hall and went to the Treasure Pavilion again. He used the last 400,000 spiritual crystals he had to buy 100 Class 9 LV3 monster cores. After buying the monster cores, Lu Ming went into the Divine Wind Valley. The arduous cultivation continued. Every day, Lu Ming would gain something. Be it his cultivation level, martial arts techniques, or force, all of them improved. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Lu Ming had refined all 100 monster cores. He walked out of the divine Wind Valley at this time. He returned to his dormitory, but did not go in. Instead, he went to Ming Peek's room. He wanted to find Ming Peek to ask about the situation in the Imperial City in the past month. He had a premonition that the Imperial capital wouldn't be peaceful during this month. Many things would definitely happen. When he arrived at Ming Peek's dormitory, he found that Ming Peek was not there. Could it be in Myong Cheng's place? With a thought, Lu Ming walked towards Myong Cheng's dormitory. Now, Myong Cheng had replaced Bai Qi's position as one of the top 10 experts of the outer hall. He lived in a courtyard. When he arrived at Myong Cheng's dormitory, he found that Ming Peek and Pearl were both here. They were sitting on a stone bench in the courtyard with Myong Cheng and were chatting. "Big brother Tianyun, you've come out of seclusion?" Ming Peek grinned when he saw Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, others call me a martial arts madman, but I think you're the real one. You can still go into seclusion peacefully at this time." Myong Cheng smiled. "Oh, why can't I go into seclusion peacefully? Did something big happen in the Imperial City during this time?" Lu Ming asked with a smile. "Of course. During this period of time, the Imperial City has been in turmoil." Myong Cheng said, "A month ago, Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi were defeated in the battle between the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun sect. Shangguan Qiu and Zhu Lian fought and exchanged thousands of blows. However, this matter didn't end there. A few days later, the gold-ranked disciples of the various sects fought fiercely. However, the 10 Direction Sword sect was extremely powerful. They had the upper hand in the battle between the gold-rank disciples. About 10 days ago, the 10 Direction Sword sect sent out a 9th-level martial grandmaster to challenge the Mystic Essence Sword sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and Star General Hall. The Star General Hall was the first to suffer a crushing defeat. The strongest group of people in the inner hall were swept away by a disciple of the 10 Direction Sword sect without any power to fight back. After that, the Crimson Cloud Valley and the Mystic Essence Sword sect also suffered a crushing defeat. The disciples sent out by the 10 Direction Sword sect were too strong. They were invincible in the martial Grand Master realm. The disciples of the Mystic Essence Sword sect on the silver ranking were all defeated. Ming Cheng gave a brief account of what had happened. Lu Ming was also secretly surprised. In this month, many things had happened in the imperial capital. In this month, the reputation of the 10 Direction Sword sect has been like the sun in the sky. On the other hand, the Mystic Essence Sword sect, Crimson Cloud Valley, and the others have suffered a great decline in reputation, especially the royal family. They have been suppressed even more. It is said that the Mystic Essence Sword sect has already mobilized the Qilin Courtyard's geniuses with special bloodlines to come here and compete with the geniuses of the 10 Direction Sword sect. Myong Cheng said, "Big brother, among the 9th layer martial grandmasters sent by the 10 Direction Sword sect, there is a special bloodline. If the Mystic Essence Sword sect or Crimson Cloud Valley's geniuses with special bloodlines come here, they might be able to fight." Pearl said with her bright eyes, "It's hard to say. I heard that the strongest martial grandmasters of the 10 Direction Sword sect have not made their move yet." Myong Cheng said, "It can't be?" Myong Cheng and Ming Peek were speechless. "Myong Cheng, brother Myong Cheng, something big has happened." Suddenly, a young man rushed in hurriedly. "Che Yuan, what's wrong?" Myong Cheng looked at the young man and asked, "I heard that the Mystic Essence Sword sect's geniuses with special bloodlines have arrived, and the 10 Direction Sword sect's disciples have already come to challenge them." The young man said, "What? So soon? Let's go and have a look." Myong Cheng shouted, then looked at Lu Ming and said, "Brother Tianyun, Do you want to come with us? Lu Ming's eyes moved, and he nodded. Together with Myong Cheng and the others, they rushed to the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's residence in Imperial City. When they arrived, they found that the entrance of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's residence was already surrounded by people. At the front, there were more than 10 Direction Sword Sect's disciples. A 10 Direction Sword Sect's disciple stood at the entrance of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's residence and shouted arrogantly, "Mystic Essence Sword Sect's trash. Hurry up and come out. What special bloodline geniuses. I think they're just a bunch of trash." Ha ha. The other 10 Direction Sword Sect's disciples burst into laughter, full of contempt. A few of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's guards turned pale. "Mystic Essence Sword Sect's trash. Hurry up and come out. Are you trying to be a coward?" The young man at the front continued to shout. "Tianyun, this young man is called Wu Kuei. He's extremely powerful. During this period of time, he defeated almost all of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's martial grandmasters by himself." Myong Cheng whispered to Lu Ming. Creak. At that moment, the door of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's residence opened, and a few young men and women walked out. There were a total of 4 of them, 3 men and 1 woman. All of them had an imposing aura, and it was obvious that they were giants among men. "Humph, Wu Kuei, don't think that you're invincible just because you defeated those trash from the 4 great halls. Comparing us to those trash is your biggest mistake." A young man carrying a battle axe walked out and said arrogantly. Lu Ming could not help but curl his lips. The people from the Qilin courtyard were really the same. Regardless of their cultivation level, they were all high and mighty. Of course, except for the mid-autumn moon, Lu Ming added in his heart. Hee, special bloodlines are also divided into high and low ranks. Some special bloodlines are trash. In my opinion, you guys are similar to those trash. Wu Kuei sneered. "You're courting death." Chapter 258 / The young man from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect shouted and slashed down with his battle axe. The battle axe carried a terrifying force. Obviously, these geniuses who were at the peak of the martial grandmaster realm had comprehended the force and were not weak at all. Child's play. Wu Kuei sneered and punched out. A terrifying fist force landed on the battle axe. Dong! With a loud explosion, the young man with the battle axe retreated slightly. Damn it! Explode! The young man with the battle axe roared, and an ancient battle axe floated above his head. There were 6 blood-red chakras on the battle axe. This was his special bloodline. The battle axe vibrated and merged with the young man, causing his aura to surge. Sky-splitting slash. The young man roared and slashed out with his battle axe. This axe strike was capable of splitting mountains and splitting the heavens. Its might was 2 times stronger than the previous axe strike. Buzz. At that moment, a blood-red light flashed on Wu Kuei's body, and a boundless mountain appeared above his head. The mountain was ancient, like a demonic mountain in the primordial times. Wu Kuei's bloodline was a mountain. Without a doubt, this was also a special bloodline. How mysterious! Wu Kuei's bloodline is a mountain. I've never seen him use it before. Someone shouted, "Demonic mountain of hell!" Wu Kuei roared and punched out. The terrifying fist force turned into a boundless demonic mountain and pressed down on the young man with the battle axe. Slash it open! The young man with the battle axe roared and slashed the mountain with his battle axe. Boom! With a violent tremor, the mountain was not slashed open. Instead, the young man with the battle axe trembled, and his body was pressed down by the mountain and smashed to the ground. With a blood-curdling scream, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. The young man with the battle axe was crushed into a pulp by the mountain. A genius with a special bloodline. was killed just like that. Humph, special bloodlines contain ancient and mysterious secrets. Only by comprehending a mysterious secret skill can one unleash the power of the special bloodline to the extreme. What's the point of leaving a piece of trash who can only use special bloodlines to comprehend the force and cultivate martial skills alive? Wu Kuei sneered. The remaining young men from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect looked terrible. Now, who wants to fight? Wu Kuei looked at the remaining people. In the martial Grandmaster realm, the duration of his bloodline eruption had increased to a shocking 10 minutes. He could already fight for a long period of time. The remaining members of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect looked at each other with grave expressions. For a moment, no one stepped out. What? What a bunch of trash. Is this the strength of your Mystic Essence Sword Sect? How disappointing. Let me tell you, there are still 5 people stronger than me in the Decimo Sword Sect. Wu Kuei sneered. What? 5 more people? Impossible. Someone shouted. Everyone was shocked by Wu Kuei's words. Originally, everyone thought that with Wu Kuei's strength, he would definitely be one of the top few in the Shifang Sword Sect. He might even be the strongest martial grandmaster in the Shifang Sword Sect. But now, Wu Kuei actually said that there were 5 people stronger than him in the 10 Directions Sword Sect. How was this possible? If it was true, wouldn't it be too terrifying? Hee, your Mystic Essence Sword Sect can't even beat me, who is ranked 6th. In my opinion, you should just withdraw from the 5 great sections. Wu Kuei continued to taunt. Damn it, I'll fight you. Among the remaining 3 people from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, a young man with a battle sword on his back walked out. There was nothing to say. The battle immediately broke out. Unfortunately, Wu Kuei was too strong. The young man with the battle sword on his back had an ancient battle sword in his bloodline. He was stronger than the young man with the battle axe, but he was still no match for Wu Kuei. After more than 30 moves, the young man with the battle sword was hit by Wu Kuei's mountain and coughed up blood. If not for his strength, he would have been crushed into a pulp. Another person from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect had lost. Ha, who else? Come up and fight me. Wu Kuei laughed arrogantly. The remaining 2 people from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect had ugly expressions. Their strength was not comparable to the young man with the battle sword on his back. If they went up, they would only be humiliating themselves. They might even lose their lives. However, they were already the strongest martial grandmasters in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Who else wants to come up? Don't you even dare to fight. What a bunch of trash. Wu Kuei laughed. In the crowd, Lu Ming looked on coldly. He had no intention of fighting. What did the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's defeat have to do with him? He was not interested in fighting. In the clouds above the sky, Lin Shui, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect leader, and a few golden-robed elders stood among the clouds. They looked down with gloomy faces. I didn't expect the Decimo Sword Sect to have secretly cultivated so many peerless geniuses over the years. Wu Kuei has already comprehended some secret techniques from his bloodline. Ordinary special bloodlines are no match for him. One of the golden-robed elders sighed. It's a pity that Duanmu Lin has broken through to the martial ancestor realm. If he was still a martial grandmaster, he would have defeated him. Another golden-robed elder said. Then they all fell silent. Now that they had lost, they had to think about how to reduce their influence as much as possible. Junior brother Wu Kuei, looks like they don't dare to come up. Sigh, how disappointing. I thought I would have a decent opponent today. Another disciple from the Decimo Sword Sect sighed. Your Mystic Essence Sword Sect should withdraw from the 5 major sects as soon as possible. Don't embarrass yourself. Ha! Wu Kuei laughed. In the crowd, Lu Ming smiled and shook his head. He was about to walk out. Tianyun, it's you? Stop right there. Suddenly, a loud roar was heard. Lu Ming was stunned. He stopped in his tracks and turned around. A disciple from the Decimo sword sect stared at Lu Ming with a gloomy face. He gritted his teeth. Obviously, this disciple had seen him before and recognized him at this time. The others beside Lu Ming were shocked and could not help but step back. Suddenly, only Myongcheng and his siblings were left around Lu Ming. He's Tianyun? Wu Kuei looked at Lu Ming. Yes, he's Tianyun. He has repeatedly gone against the Decimo sword sect. He deserves to die. The young man who recognized Lu Ming said with murderous intent. During this period, other senior brothers have been looking for him, but he has been hiding like a turtle. Today, I finally saw him. The young man added. Hiding? Lu Ming was a little speechless. He was just cultivating in seclusion. Since when did he hide? Well, then I'll get rid of him. Wu Kuei smiled coldly and walked towards Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming coldly and said, Tianyun, right? You should know that the crimes you've committed are unforgivable. How about this? I'll give you a chance to commit suicide. That way, I can make the decision to leave your corpse intact. Wu Kuei put his hands behind his back and looked arrogant. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This guy thinks too highly of himself. He wants me to commit suicide. Is there something wrong with your head? Or did your mother accidentally squash your head when she gave birth to you? Lu Ming stared at Wu Kuei and said word by word. Uffed. Chapter 259. They actually didn't want to laugh, but Lu Ming's words made them unable to hold back. Especially Ming Peak. He laughed until tears flowed out. Even the other disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect couldn't hold back their laughter. Wu Kuei's face turned red as his eyes turned red. He was so angry that his body trembled as he roared, Die, bastard! Boom! Wu Kuei threw a punch at Lu Ming. The fist force condensed into a huge mountain with shocking power. Lu Ming sneered and didn't back down at all. He also threw a punch. Bang! Lu Ming's fist smashed into the mountain that Wu Kuei threw out. A scene that made people's eyes pop out appeared. The mountain rumbled and exploded from Lu Ming's punch. Bang! 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 Wu Kuei took 7 to 8 steps back as his fist trembled nonstop. The surrounding onlookers sucked in a cold breath. Lu Ming actually forced Wu Kuei back with a punch. How was that possible? The strength that Wu Kuei displayed just now was extremely shocking. He suppressed many experts of the Mystic Essence Sword sect and was simply an invincible existence in the martial Grand Master realm. Now, he was actually forced back by Lu Ming with a punch. A few months ago, Lu Ming had displayed extremely powerful combat strength in the Ditian battle arena. He was able to obtain 10 consecutive victories across 2 levels. It was extremely terrifying. However, his cultivation was only in the 6th level of the martial Grand Master realm. As for Wu Kuei, he was at the peak of the 9th level of the martial Grand Master realm and a peerless genius. Before this punch, no one thought that Lu Ming could fight with Wu Kuei. However, the reality exceeded everyone's expectations. Damn it! Wu Kuei roared as his aura became even more terrifying. He was like an enraged lion. What are you shouting for? You're too weak. Aren't there a few people in the 10 Directions sword sect who are stronger than you? Come at me together. I don't have that much time to play with you. If you want to fight, hurry up and come at me together. Lu Ming glanced at the other disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect and said indifferently, What? The disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect were stunned. The surrounding spectators were also stunned. Lu Ming actually wanted to challenge all the experts of the 10 Directions sword sect. Was he crazy? In the sky, Lin Xue's eyes flashed as she stared at Lu Ming. This young man is quite strong, but he's underestimating the geniuses of the Decimo sword sect. A golden-robed elder shook his head. It's not that I'm looking down on the geniuses of the Shifeng sword sect. It's just that this young man is confident in himself. Lin Shui said, "You have the confidence." According to the sect leader's words, could it be that this little fellow had challenged the experts of the 10 Directions sword sect and won? How was this possible? Even when Qiu Chongkong was a martial grandmaster, he wasn't this strong, right? The golden-robed elder said, "We haven't fought yet. Who knows?" Lin Shui smiled faintly. The other golden-robed elders were somewhat bewildered. Arrogant, too arrogant. He is courting death. Kill him. Many disciples of Decimo sword faction roared furiously. Tianyun, since you're so confident, don't blame us for winning by outnumbering you. Let's attack together. A handsome young man said coldly. He took a step forward and appeared beside Lu Ming, forming a triangle with Wu Kuei. Boom. Then, an extremely shocking aura erupted from the young man's body. Then, a bloodline in the shape of a saber appeared. There was no doubt that it was also a special bloodline. As soon as the bloodline appeared, a shocking saber light shot into the sky. Its aura was even stronger than Wu Kuei's. Whoosh, whoosh. Then, four figures flashed and appeared around Lu Ming, surrounding Lu Ming. A bloodline floated above each of the four of them. Two of them had special bloodlines, and the other two didn't have special bloodlines. However, they were extremely powerful mutants. Each of their aura was terrifyingly powerful. Each of their aura was stronger than Wu Kuei's. The geniuses of the Mystic Essence Sword sect with special bloodlines turned pale. Their eyes were full of disappointment. The onlookers also widened their eyes in shock. Previously, when Wu Kuei said that there were 5 geniuses stronger than him in the Decimo sword sect, many people didn't believe him. They thought that Wu Kuei was trying to elevate the Decimo sword sect. But now, they knew that Wu Kuei was telling the truth. There were really 5 geniuses in the Decimo sword sect who were stronger than Wu Kuei. This was too shocking. Countless people were shocked by the strength of the Decimo sword sect. One of these geniuses is enough to defeat all geniuses of the same level, let alone 6 of them. Tianyun is doomed. He will die here today. It's a pity that such a genius will die here. In the future, he will not be weaker than the 6 heroes. The crowd sighed. Attack! At this moment, the 6 exceptional geniuses attacked at the same time. Boom! Boom! 6 different attacks flew towards Lu Ming from different directions. Each of the attacks was extremely terrifying. Each of them had the power of a martial ancestor, realm LV1. The martial grandmaster realm and martial ancestor realm were 2 completely different realms. The gap between them was like heaven and earth. It was rare for a martial grandmaster realm cultivator to have the combat strength of a martial ancestor realm LV1. Now, the 6 geniuses from the Decimo sword sect had the strength of a martial ancestor realm LV1. One could imagine how terrifying they were. Wind, fire, Lu Ming said softly. He grasped the air with his right hand, and a long spear appeared. The long spear was infused with the power of wind and fire. Boom! Then Lu Ming bent his legs slightly and exerted force. The ground under his feet exploded, creating a large hole. The floor cracked like a spider web. Lu Ming's body shot up into the sky like a cannonball. The long spear pierced upwards, creating a terrifying whistling sound. Boom! Lu Ming's spear pierced a large hole in the joint attack of the 6 geniuses. Lu Ming shot up into the sky. Go up and surround him. One of the geniuses from the Decimo Sword sect shouted. Then, the sound of the air being pierced could be heard. 6 figures shot up into the sky. Human Dao palm. Lu Ming said softly and threw a palm down. Whoosh! Spiritual qi surged wildly between heaven and earth and gathered toward Lu Ming. A large palm print appeared in the sky. The lines on the palm were clear as if they were real. The large palm print slammed down. Wherever the palm print passed, the air would explode. It was extremely terrifying. Not good. Let's fight together. The faces of the 6 geniuses from the Decimo Sword sect changed drastically. They screamed in horror. The 6 of them used all their strength. Suddenly, 6 terrifying attacks gathered together and blasted towards the large palm print. Suppress! There was a glint in Lu Ming's eyes, and he shouted softly. Boom! The palm print collided with the attacks of the 6 geniuses. The force swept out and formed a terrifying shockwave that rushed in all directions. Not good. Below, the crowd's faces changed drastically, and they fled in all directions. Bam! Bam! The force swept across the ground, creating a large crater. Bam! Then, there was a loud explosion. The joint attack of the 6 geniuses from the Decimo Sword sect was shattered by the palm print. The palm print did not stop and continued to press down. How could this be? Wu Kuei shouted. Chapter 260. Boom! With a deafening boom, the 6 geniuses of the Decimo Sword sect were directly smashed to the ground by the huge palm print. They crashed heavily into the ground, creating 6 large pits and filling the air with smoke and dust. In the distance, countless people stared blankly at this scene. Time seemed to have frozen at this moment. They even forgot to breathe. They could only stare blankly with their eyes wide open. It was as if they wanted to engrave this scene in their hearts forever. This was because it was too shocking. Any one of the 6 geniuses of the Decimo Sword sect could defeat almost all the martial grandmasters in the Blazing Sun Empire. But now, the 6 of them were defeated by Lu Ming in a single palm strike. Even a fool would be able to see the difference between them. The remaining 3 geniuses of the Mystic Essence Sword sect looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. It was as if they could not believe that there was such a genius in the world. Then, the disappointment in their eyes became stronger. Before coming to the imperial capital, they were arrogant and thought that they were the favored children of heaven and earth. They looked down on martial artists with ordinary bloodlines. They thought that no one in the world was stronger than them in a battle of the same level. But not long after coming to the imperial capital, they suffered a fatal blow. They were defeated by Wu Kuei alone. In front of Wu Kuei, they were no match at all. But such an opponent that they looked up to, together with 5 other geniuses who were stronger than Wu Kuei, was defeated by Lu Ming in a single move. This simply overturned their understanding of the world. The blow to them was too big. In the past, we dominated the Mystic Essence Sword sect and thought that we were invincible. It turns out that we have been ignorant all this time. The only woman among the 3 sighed softly. The other 2's eyes flickered and then turned into sighs. No matter how strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. Only today did they truly understand this principle. In the sky, Lin, Shui, and the other golden-robed elders were also stunned. Amazing, really amazing. There is such a genius in the Star General Hall. Looking at his age, he is only in his 20s? A golden-robed elder sighed, full of envy. In fact, Lu Ming's actual age was not even 18 years old. It was just that he was wearing a disguise, so he looked like he was in his 20s. The second level of the Earth Realm Palm Art. Great success in the Force of Fire and minor success in the force of wind. His Zhen Qi is incomparably dense. Genius, a true genius. Lin Xue's eyes sparkled. Even though he thought highly of Lu Ming before, he still couldn't help but sigh. Big Brother Tianyan is mighty. Big Brother Tianyan is invincible. Ming Peak came to his senses and shouted excitedly. When the dust settled, everyone saw 6 large pits on the ground. The 6 geniuses of the Decimo Sword faction were lying motionless in the pits, their bodies covered in blood. Even though he was still breathing and wasn't dead yet, there were many broken bones in his body. Without a month or 2 of recuperation, it would be impossible for him to make a full recovery. What genius! That's all you've got. Lu Ming said as he glanced at Wu Kuei and the rest. Wu Kuei and the others almost spat out another mouthful of blood. If it weren't for their severe injuries, they would have roared out loud. He was angry and regretful. During this period of time, they had defeated many geniuses of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Astral Hall, and Crimson Cloud Valley, pushing the reputation of the Decimo Sword faction to the peak. But now, the 6 of them were defeated by Lu Ming with a single palm strike. If this news spread, it would be a joke. It was definitely a huge blow to the reputation of the Decimo Sword faction. Their efforts during this period of time were equivalent to nothing under Lu Ming's palm strike. Haha, great. In the sky, a golden-robed elder laughed. Lu Ming glanced at Wu Kuei and the others indifferently and didn't make any more moves. He turned around and strode away. Miang Cheng and the others quickly followed. Countless pairs of eyes followed Lu Ming and watched Lu Ming's back as he left. This was an arrogant, determined, and unyielding back view. In the sky, Lin Xue looked at Lu Ming's back and was shocked. In his eyes, Tianyun's back overlapped with the back of another young man. They were so similar. Lu Ming. Lin Xue whispered, his eyes shining. After a long time, it turned into a long sigh. This long sigh contained a trace of regret. Maybe my choice was wrong. Lin Xue sighed in his heart. In Lu Ming's room, in the Astral Hall, Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the bed. Now, my cultivation is very close to the 9th level of the Martial Master Realm. I have to break through as soon as possible. Then I can refine the blood refining pill and improve the foundation of the second bloodline to prepare for the awakening of the second bloodline. Lu Ming thought to himself. Before the Emperor's birthday, Lu Ming had been in seclusion in the Earth Essence Cave for 3 months. In the first month, he had refined 100 monster cores, and his cultivation had reached the peak of the 7th level of the Martial Master Realm. In the next 2 months, his cultivation had successfully broken through to the 8th level of the Martial Master Realm. In the last month, he had refined another 100 monster cores of the 9th level of the 3rd level of the Martial Master Realm and reached the peak of the 8th level of the Martial Master Realm. With his current cultivation, the 2nd level of the 3 Dao Palms, and the fire force that had broken through to the greater success, it was normal for him to defeat Wu Kuei and the others with 1 palm. He did not place the matter of defeating Wu Kuei and the others in his heart. In his opinion, it was an insignificant matter. His current goal was to break through to the 9th layer Martial Grandmaster as soon as possible, and then break through to the Martial Ancestor Realm. Immediately, Lu Ming began to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. At this time, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. This was because he felt a terrifying, murderous intent shrouding him. At the same time, an extremely dangerous feeling arose, causing his heart to tremble slightly and his hair to stand on end. Oh no! There was no time to think. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming soared to the sky and dashed toward the ceiling. Chi! At this time, a terrifying sound broke through the air. 100-meter long, extremely bright sword light slashed toward Lu Ming's dorm room. Boom! Lu Ming's dorm room, including the other rooms, suddenly exploded. Gravel and wood chips flew in all directions. The whole floor was split in half. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed to the sky from the broken wood. Tianya and I... With a cold bellow, Lu Ming saw two young men walking in the air toward him. Chi, one of the young men in a yellow robe, slashed with his sword. Another terrifying sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. The speed of the sword light was unbelievably fast. In an instant, it had arrived in front of Lu Ming. Ancient shield. Lu Ming let out a low roar, for ancient shields condensed in front of him in succession. For shields were stacked in front of Lu Ming, blocking him. Boom! The sword light slashed on the shields, causing them to shake violently. Then, the first shield exploded, followed by the second, the third. In just a breath's time, all 4 shields had exploded. However, in just a breath's time, Lu Ming's bloodline erupted. A powerful devouring force covered his body. At the same time, he frantically retreated and took out the demon-suppressing spear to block in front of him. Clang!